contenders throughout the league, firmly solidifying their qualification to the grand finals. Thunder Talk Gaming showcased resilient gameplay in this Group Green battle. Despite a slow start on day one, they found the rhythm and made a strong comeback on the fourth day of PMGC League stage. Thunder Talk Gaming delivered a standout performance, taking down the Pubg and secured their well-deserved place in the PMGC Grand Finals in London. Regnum Karya Bra Esports, led by former PMGC champion Silas, faced a challenging start in the first 2 days of league stage. Despite the setbacks, they fought back in day 3, earning a crucial 19 points in match 4 to steer clear of elimination. Their momentum continued with a solid chicken dinner on day 4. While they came so close to securing a direct ticket to London, they have demonstrated their abilities to deliver strong competition on the global stage. However, their journey isn't over yet. They will need to prove themselves once again in survival stage. Going Donkey ID made their first ever debut in the PMGC this year. While things started off rough in the first 3 days of league stage, they turned it all around due to tactical changes from their coach. With 2 chicken dinners and some serious high elimination matches, they showed us what they're capable of, finishing off Group Green with a win. Their journey now continues in the survival stage, and their relentless spirit has undoubtedly left a lasting impression on everyone watching. DRS Gaming, the former runner-up of the 2022 PMGC Grand Finals, struggled to find their rhythm this season. Despite securing 2 chicken dinners on days 3 and 4 of group stage, they couldn't maintain the consistency needed to earn a spot in survival stage. This marks the end of the journey of this year's PMGC for them. We wish them the best and look forward to their comeback for next year.
Мы очень рады. Это первый финал PMGC для нас. Завтра будем праздновать и не знаю, как передать это словами.
Não tenho muito o que falar para os outros, foco mais no meu time, mas fiquem preocupados com a gente.
终于把心中的一个大石头终于放下来了吧。其实我感觉在打今天一整天的时候，我心态都比较正常一点，但是到了这一把，确实很刺激。
Всем пока, увидимся в Лондоне.
Bye bye, see you in London.
我们伦敦见。
Action isn't over yet. Stay tuned for the upcoming survival stage where the stakes are higher than ever. Let's see who will rise to the challenge and claim their last chance ticket to the grand finals in London.
Dreams in twilight storm silent soldiers in their fight.
Survival stage is finally here. Welcome back to the 2024 PUBG Mobile Global Championship League stage, live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In case you missed the first action-packed 3 weeks of the PMGC League stage, let me give you a quick little recap. In Group Yellow, we had none other than Team Spirit put up a dominating performance, being able to be the only team to surpass the 200-point mark, followed by DRX and our 2024 PMWC champions Alpha 7, both with 190 points. In Group Red, it came down to a nail-biting finish. None other than Navi, TJB, and Enigma Galaxy securing the top 3 spots, with 4th place just missing out by just 1 point. And on the final group, the most unexpected group out of everybody, as our viewers were saying, we had Brute Force. On top of that, Thunder Talk Gaming and Influence Rage secured the top 3 spots. But now, in survival stage, we have Bigatron Knights, 4 Miracle Vibes, Vampire Esports, Team Liquid. Just a few teams from Group Green and Group Yellow fighting to keep their grand finals dreams alive. Who will secure a place in Last Chance? That's a question for you at home and for our talents around the world. Let's get started.
Let's get started indeed here. I cannot believe we've made it all the way to the survival stage where only 16 teams can get out and make it to the last chance, where from there only 6 teams can go into PMGC. I'm your host, Jason Kappen, joined by the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Maxman.
I knew it.
I saw Hot Jukes like getting up like, oh, yeah, he's talking about me, and of course I have to, be me and not be nice and throw it to someone else. But we got Hot Jukes and Maxman joining me once again here on the desk. And Hot Jukes, good to see you back once again. But as we've been saying, things have been heating up here at PMGC. It's only a matter of time until we finally do have all 16 teams qualified into the grand finals.
Hey, we're lava hot here at this point, baby. I mean, this is the true group of death. You can just see, look at all these teams that made it. And, man, it is going to get wild here, Max.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough time for all of these teams because, as you said, it's the group of death here for the survival stage. And you're going to have to qualify, make it out of the initial 24 teams, and then the 16 teams will be competing for those 6 remaining slots to head over to London for the grand finals. And, Jason, from what we've seen so far, there are so many big names in the survival stage. Like, there's going to be some other bunch of upsets happening this week for sure.
We've had some teams just hit the ground running when it came to their individual groups. Unfortunately, just to fall short at the finish line. For instance, Mir and Sejong here, D plus Kia as well. And they have another chance, a chance of redemption to potentially get themselves back into London. But of course, you can't put everything into just these first days. You just have to survive in the survival stage to get to that last chance. And honestly, right now, Hot Jukes, I could not tell you with certainty what teams will make it into the grand finals. There's just no way to tell.
Yeah, there really isn't, especially with how we saw the group stage go, right? I mean, we had some crazy surprises. One of them we saw Seven talk about earlier, Brute Force on top of the last group. And, other than that, it's just been wild here. I mean, look at who we have in the survival stage. I mean, we got IWNRX, Vampire, Bigatron, Team Liquid, Regnum Karya, D+. There's 2 there. Every single team here are insane, Max.
Yeah, every group is insane. And, again, as Jason said, predicting this, how are you supposed to predict this?
If you can, you should go play the lottery, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, I feel like it's almost the same in terms of ratio of how lucky you would be to predict every 6 team that's going to make it through survival and then into the last chance. But, yeah, we'll have to see. Of course, after that, it'll be the grand finals in early December. But I am so excited to get into the games, Jason. There's so many conversations. You've got teams that improved a lot in their groups, teams that unfortunately disappointed us a bit, and maybe jobs are going to be moving around here and there. So I am very, very hyped for today's matches.
And before we do fully focus on the survival stage, we do have to quickly talk about, obviously, the teams who did qualify already through to the grand finals, like Team Spirit, DRX, Alpha 7, Navi, TJB, Enigma Galaxy, Brute Force, Influence Rage, Thunder Talk. I think the biggest surprise out of all that was EMEA dominating first place in each group, Objects.
It's wild. It's wild. John is grinning ear to ear at this point, man. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it because that is the name of the game here, So, you know what? Screw MEA. I'm just kidding. When it comes down to it, it's all about what is what we're dealing with right here and now, right? And that is Group Green versus Group Yellow. My eyes are locked on to see which team is going to be able to get it done here, Max.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about EMEA. I'm really looking at South Korea. Sure, like DRX did qualify, but Mir and Sejong, D plus Kia, they got in 5th and 4th position respectively. We are this close, Jason, to having all the South Korean teams to join this year's PMGC to qualify into the finals. 100% win ratio for the South Korean teams. And I can tell you, after the disappointment of their respective groups, they're going to come in swinging today, hopefully, to make it in that contested top 6.
Gentlemen, I have to throw something back at you, though, if you're talking about South Korea, potentially 100% participation rate in the grand finals. What about SEA, currently sitting on 0% participation in the grand finals? There's a chance we don't see a single SEA team make it into the grand finals.
Oh, let's not talk to Wolfie, Jason, after his predictions.
I mean, well, so the reason I bring it up, right, I think it's unheard of to not have an SEA team make it to the grand finals, but also we've been talking about how SEA is one of the strongest regions in the world consistently throughout the start of PUBG Mobile Esports, and for them to not have a single team to potentially qualify, I think would be one of the biggest upsets we would have seen this year.
For a region, too. I mean, Hodgix, I think that there are some SEA teams that we're looking to maybe make in top 6. I think we're looking at Vampire, your Deke Xavier, etc. There's a bunch of big names, but like, imagine none make it. That would be the biggest upset for SEA ever, I would say, in PUBG Mobile Esports.
Yeah, hands down, especially considering that we're now like at the pinnacle of PUBG Mobile Esports, right? I mean, we're getting surprised by certain squads because everybody has just leveled up so much. But for the longest time, I mean, SEA has just been reigning champion, so to see them fall has been pretty tough.
Well, not to mention also CSA has no teams in the grand finals either, so I have to kind of keep that in mind as well. Yeah, it would be quite a surprise, Max, since we've been covering them all year, to not have your Falcons, your 4MVs potentially make it through, and obviously a lot of other teams in there as well. But as we do start to kind of focus in here into our groups, we do have to also talk about the fact that they're getting to play on one of the best devices out there right now. They're learning to play like the pro, even if they're not already pro, but they are already pros. So the Infinix GT20 Pro with 120 FPS and 7 telling you just to go pick one of these bad boys up with 144 hertz AMOLED screen. You're going to run out of pictures, Max, I'm telling you.
No. No, I'm definitely not. No, I've got different ones. I got Paraboy in the back also. That's my typical, our normal, everyday wallpaper, Jason, I'm using.
You see this face, Max? You know what this means? It means I found the picture from Season 0.
Oh, no.
In the green room with all the boys. And that's going to go up on my Infinix device
guys,
a little bit later on.
If he uses it, it's Photoshop. I'm just saying.
It's not Photoshop. Also, make sure to check out all the social media channels here, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok here for PUBG Mobile Esports. On top of that, we still have tickets available over in London currently for you guys to pick up between the 6th and 8th of December. Make sure you guys get these as well because they're going to be flying off the shelves as quick as possible, and you're not going to want to miss out on the activities. Not to mention the energy in the arena as you see our champions being crowned. And on top of that, make sure you guys are searching over on TikTok for PUBG Mobile with PMGC 2024. All these great videos are being posted behind the scenes. A lot of great dances as well by the TikTok admin, as she coins herself. And not to mention, on top of this, gentlemen, I swear I've been talking for like 10 minutes straight. We have the face of Frozen Fury. The 3.5 update of Ice Mare Frontier is here. And Max, I did hear about you were not able to get the dragon.
I did in the end. It's just I did a game, Jason, and I kept getting third party by teams that were waiting for me to do 90% of the damage to this bloody dragon. And I kept playing again and again and again, but I got him at the end. And you know what? You dropped me an MG3, so thank you, Dragon. That is very, very cool of you. It's my favorite dragon with my favorite weapon, with an Aurora Borealis on top. It was great.
It's just all of your favorites, but as we take a look here at our favorites, and more importantly, our teams to focus your hot jukes, I see Bigatron on your list, Major Pride, and Team Liquid. Why is that?
That's right. So I've been really blessed to be here since the day one of the esports journey, right? And there's one thing that is consistent, right? And that's the best teams in the world do not change drop locations, like almost no matter what, especially during mid-tournament. So I got a chance to talk to a majority of the coaches here that are going to be playing today, and I got to see kind of like the agreed drop locations, and I was keeping an eye on who was the big changes, right? And one of the major ones was Major Pride, right? They are actually going to go from Fairy Pier to Farm, and that was Team Spirit's location. Since they qualified, it's wide open, they took it. So that's going to be a big upgrade for them. I'm interested to see how that works out. Team Liquid, they're actually going to be changing their secondary drop location away from North George on over to South George. So that's going to be fun, and because Marion Sejong is actually going to be taking that away because Alpha 7's gone. They're not here. So other than that, Bigatron. This is one I really want to talk about. Yeah. Bigatron are leaving Rosshawk. Why? Because Regnum Karya, right? They're in the lobby now. So they're not moving away from Rosshawk. So they're going to move on over to Milta. So these kind of changes, Max, it's big, especially to be able to do in such a tournament as important as this one.
I mean, you've been chatting with everyone behind the scenes. I have a big question for you, Hot Jukes, actually,
Sure.
that I'm very excited about for Miramar. Have you heard if Inco or Stalwart going to change their drop from Picado? Please tell me yes. Is that a thing?
Look, Inco don't give a damn, okay?
Oh, no.
That's what I'm talking about.
No.
Inco's gonna do what Inco does, all right? So I'm interested in seeing some of that. That's actually what I'm really looking forward to.
I'm not looking forward to that, Jason. We've had too much of that this year.
I'm actually, well, first of all, yes, I agree. We did have a ton of Picado drops, but I'm really happy to hear this, Max, because I feel like when we were covering CSA for the watch parties, we got so angry looking at like 52 up against IHC Northwest Island Sandhawk, seeing Not Noobs up against Stalwart and Picado. I mean, there was a ton of different hot drops that happened, and we kept asking ourselves, like, why are we seeing this? Like, this is not going to be allowing you to get to the next stage of the event or to improve as a team. It's just you being stubborn. And to hear teams at this level be like, okay, you know what? We respect that they're going to take this drop location. We're going to change our position because, you know what? PMGC Grand Finals on the line here, and we can't afford to make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, you might say, oh, it's just Miramar. There's only 2 a day already. Who says that, you crazy person? But like, it's so many points you're potentially going to be missing out on. And we mention it every time, right, Hot Jukes? So you as the special hot drop specialist right here. So sure, you might win the hot drop versus X team in your compound or your city. Great, fantastic. But if you lose 1 player, 2 players, that hinders you so much for an opportunity to then get a good game, to then win your skirmishes and reach the late game of that match. So I hope it doesn't happen, but it's Stalwart and Inco, the two most stubborn teams in this lobby, I'd have to say. So it might be happening. Even though it's Miramar's at the end of the day, but it's something to keep in the back of our minds.
Yeah, for sure. And I put a green drop locations in air quotes because you never know what's going to happen during this tournament, right? But you can see all these players. They have a good idea. Look at this man.
What?
A good
Spraying on his
mystic.
face.
You know, a good mystic.
It's sweaty in here.
Just get moisturized, ready to get in the game. Yeah.
You gotta stay hydrated, baby. You know what I'm talking about? Because it is definitely gonna get sweaty.
Well, as we do, obviously, focus in a little bit more, Max, I noticed your teams to focus. You had Regnum Karya, you had Miran Sejong, and you had D+. You and I both matched you when it came to South Korean teams, but maybe talk to us about Regnum Karya.
Yeah, Regnum Karya, for me, I have 2 teams that have significantly improved towards the end of their respective groups, Jason. I had Foreign Donkey ID Bat to pick just one of the most improved teams, and I went with Regnum Karya Bra. Their rotations, Jason, just from the first 2 days of their group into the last 2 days of their group, night and day. They're so quick to rotate. The eye-gelling of Silas is absolutely top tier. Sure, would I like to see maybe a bit more fragging potential from Wild and Loxy? I think Blank echoed that sentiment in matches. Yes, for sure, I think that maybe would have pushed them up in the top 3, but there were late bloomers in the group, and I just think, Jason, if they maintain that kind of play style they had in the group at the start here on day 1, hopefully, of this survival stage, I think RCB could very easily cruise through the survival stage, and who knows, maybe make it into the top 6.
Just to quickly correct myself, you didn't have D+, you had 4MV, which we both had.
Oh, yeah.
I had D+, Samir and Sejong in there. And 4MV, man, Hot Jukes, I mean, I think the question is, like, they still perform well. Doc was still the MVP of the group. Have they been able to reel in Doc a little bit more and play together more as a team?
Look, my question is, are they going to reel in these dang circles, dude? Are we going to see another shooting range, like Lock? That'd be crazy, but that's going to be the big question because Doc's performance is kind of what pushed them to victory, but at the same time, it held them back. Hopefully, they made those
Blessing and a curse. Yeah.
That's what it is when you are a player like Doc. Will it be a blessing or a curse for the team today? Well, let's find out as we drop into Sandhawk.
And it is time. The survival stage starts here. Every single team looking for their opportunity, their chance to show they've got what is needed for the grand finals. And of course, a couple of regions still without representation in those finals, looking to prove it for their region too.
Yeah, and to be fair, like that's the saying, it's absolutely madness that we have 3 groups that all end with EMEA on top. Which I think that hasn't. We are just that good. That just hasn't happened in such a long time. It's great to see some EMEA representation. And to be fair, that region has been pushing the boat out in terms of skill, in terms of performance for a very long time. But now is time for some of our teams that we saw up towards the top try and get in towards the end game. The last chance to get themselves a pick up over towards PMGC. But you're right, starting off with a hot drop between Xavier as well as Stalwart.
Vietnam trying to take this fight on, seemingly starting out quite well. A spray down from Critter, though, evens the scoreline. No flush just yet, so still possible to res it. And Xavier may have the angles to get it. It depends on this fight on the inside. The Micro Uzi versus the Tommy gun there, swapping out the weapons. Xavier, everybody trying to get in position. But with Nadeti down, they need to try and keep this position under control for Xavier. They've got the parapet, though. That's going to make it harder for Xavier to move around. Low ammo counts on the outside. And two players from Stalwart bearing down on Lamborghini. The swing out wide from Critter, but he can't quite connect. There he goes for the second peek and finds that second knock over towards Xavier. This time it's a flush.
Hitting the barrel as well, absolute demon of a weapon. Xavier, though, trying to bring things back just a little bit. Two players now left for Stalwart on the high ground. One gets knocked down. Looking for the last as Paragin searches for Critter, who has been a real big problem for Xavier so far. But only one flush so far for the team. I think there is some players in the wings as well. Mirren Sejong actually peeking in towards this fight.
And Loops are starting to poke their noses through too. I mean, you hear this third party. This is prime real estate to now move in to pick up a flush on that off angle. Mirren Sejong going to chime in. You can see those high ground shots coming on through. You don't want to get too stuck in, but you know this fight's going pear-shaped now. Xavier on three players. They've taken a knock. They're going for the res. Stalwart with the last player alive, and that will be the end of Stalwart. But Xavier now have Loops to deal with out on their east. The circle's gone up towards the north, so teams will be rotating through this area as well.
It's a viable area to stay for a while now, which is good for Xavier. If they had to immediately move, this would have been a much worse situation. Mirren Sejong, I respect it, honestly. I think that their biggest weakness over in their stage was the fact that they lacked a little bit of aggression here and there. In terms of their mid to late game performance, it was absolutely exemplary. In terms of their rotates, like their 2-2 splits were the thing that defined this team. But they just didn't have that aggression where it was needed. You come to the survival stage, you're looking to get into that top 16. There are 24 teams here, so 8 will be going home. If there's opportunity to pick up some eliminations on a fight in Paradise, you absolutely go for that. So I'm glad to see that from Mirren Sejong.
Loops and Mirren Sejong now, both teams looking at their party like position. Sewell, he's in danger here, though, really put up against the road, but fortunately Loops are all on one side of him. If they had the angles, he'd be down right now, but he's not going to wait at all. He's just going to get stuck straight on it. Sewell going for the fight against 3 players from Loops who are right next door. The rest of Mirren Sejong, they haven't responded, they haven't moved in yet, and now the off angle's coming through for Loops. This is crazy Brower from Mirren Sejong. They just can't quite find it, and Sewell goes down in a bold push against Loops.
Yeah, not entirely sure what Seiru's game plan was there. I think he had to pick up the initial knock on the vehicle and then he could have maybe extracted himself. I think when it came down to it, he knew that if he stayed out in the open, that was it. He was done for. So he had to make a crazy play happen or just go down. I respect the fact that he tried to get up towards the buildings anyway, but Loops will pick themselves up an elimination off the back of that. And Mirren Sejong go down to just 3 players, which is not ideal considering they started up in Cal, moving down towards Tap Mock, which is an ideal spot to play, to be honest with you. They do have a outpost over down towards the southwest in JSOC, which they can move over towards if needs be. But in the meantime, it is other teams that need to get over towards this position. One Vampire over towards the eastern side, relatively safe for the time being. No one really pushing through them. It is Voin Donkey over in Hatin, who has a big amount of work to be done over in that region, considering they've got a lot of teams to maybe hold out on Hatin Bridge.
And Major Pride being one of them, a team that people are looking at as a qualification team. I think almost every one of us who've made predictions over on the talent side of things have put Major Pride in their top 6. So definitely a bit of a threat to deal with. The question is, how good is their crossing over on that north side bridge? RCB, they moved up there now southwest to Paradise Resort, in between that and Boot Camp. Major Pride, they're going to make that move, but they're all in the same vehicle. BTR may be able to find a pick out or 2.
Lepar. With a BTR, there was a lot of complaints about how they were a little bit too passive in their matches. And in terms of positional game, they actually had a lot of times where they could have made those crossings, they could have made those aggressive rotates and been in a much stronger position towards the mid-game. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case a lot of times for this squad, where they just hung back too much, got themselves pinned over towards the edge of the blue by the time we got to stage 6. So hopefully that's something that they can maybe look to improve. The Vicious moving across. Very good team, actually. Did have some circle look over in their stage, didn't really carry all the way through to getting a top 3, and they slowly fell off. But overall, like, the mechanics are there, the skill is there for that squad. I think that they just got outclassed by some of the other teams that were in their group of green.
D plus Kia are on board now as well, and I think this is again another team that people are looking at as a potential qualifier. However, their fall off in the last days of their group stage blank made it really difficult for me to trust them, and they have to rebuild that trust for me over the next 2 days if I'm going to pay them any mind. So we'll have to wait and see if they're able to do anything from the southeast side. Rocking the cream colour player banners there. It's a colour we haven't seen in a while, I think, on the mini-maps, but there we are.
I think for D plus Kia, it's unfortunate. I enjoyed the group stages big time, but I think 4 days sometimes is a little bit much. I like that we do have 4 days of play because in a way it does get rid of a little bit of variance when you hit that 24th game, but at the same time I think for teams like D plus Kia it's slightly unfortunate for them because in terms of tactical play they're very good in terms of rotations, and by the time that they'd got their points bank going, a lot of teams have already read into it. So I think 3 days might have assisted them, but that's just not the way we do things here in PUBG Mobile. And I think that you absolutely do need to have aggressive players, strong players on the squad that can pop off. And Upsal is one of them. He just somewhat was diminished in performance towards the last 2 days of Group Green. So D plus Kia, I think they are a very good team. And I do think that they could absolutely get themselves into the top 16, let alone maybe qualify through last chance. But yeah, we'll wait and see, because I have seen stranger things happen in the survival stage. It's brutal.
Yeah, with only 2 days per phase as well, like that variance can go up and up, especially, well, for the first 2, right, you need top 16, as you were saying, to move through, but then the scores reset, go over, that makes it all the rougher. Now they have their first chance to show us if they can come back into this one. Osal goes down around the rocks, but him and Nolbu are able to handle the forward 2 from Inco. This is all the way near Camp Bravo on the east, so they've still got a little bit more ground to cover, but D plus Kia have already lost shit as well, so not perfect rotation situation on the east side, but they'll carry on nonetheless. Loops, they took a knock over in the lumberyard before, now it looks like they're taking another on that regroup. At DX Xavier, they've got a 5th elimination on the cards here, Blank.
Yeah, DX Xavier is really starting to ramp things up in this game. And again, for Paris Resort, they had a strong position to play off the back of, but they weren't happy with just that and have moved out over towards the northwest. So well played to them. In comes Zeus. It's our rookie team of the year, I would say. I think a lot of people would be quite happy to agree with me on that note. And I think with Zeus, they came into the tournament scared, I'd say. I think they felt a little bit timid, and that's fair enough, right? You're on the big stage. It's a terrifying prospect for them. There's a lot of young players on that squad, but they turned things up towards the last 2 days. That's the most important part of the conversation we're having right now, is that they didn't start strong, they ended strong. And I think that really bodes well in terms of their momentum. But it has been a while since their group. So you wonder, how cold are they going to be going into this, or have they been practicing in the meantime every single day?
There's also that mental game. So coming into the PMGC as a whole, right, as a rookie team, as a rookie roster, you're thinking about them and they're thinking about, oh man, these guys, they must be so much better than us. They've got the experience. Well, Zeus qualified as well. They're pretty bloody good too. And now that they have realized that about themselves, even if they are a little bit cold, hopefully they can get a faster start.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because there's ups and downs to it. Because for Group Green, it's the best group to be in if you don't make it to the grand finals. It's the worst group to be in if you make it to the grand finals. For Group Yellow, on the other hand, it's the best group to be in if you make it to the grand finals, but it's the worst group to be in if you make the survival stage because you have so many days off. But you do have a lot of time to it's a give and take, right? If you're in Group Yellow, you get those 3 weeks to analyze every other team in the lobby and really figure things out. However, if you're in that final group, you have so much momentum going into this week because you're just coming off the games from last week. You're feeling pretty fresh going into this. It's an odd one, the way it all goes around. So I think for Group Yellow, the most important thing is have these teams done their homework.
Such a shame that Brute Force qualified first place in Group Green because we've got a cow circle finally. It's their stomping ground, and this time it will be taken up by Loops and Vampire from the northeast side. Loops in the lumberyard, Vampire in cow, but the hills out to the west of it also a major factor. And I think Point Donkey ID have a lot of control. The bridge crossing yet to come on through. Loops in the lumberyard though, having a pretty tough time staying standing right now as they've lost a second player, and DXavier pick up yet another point.
Yeah, it feels like Loops at the moment just don't really know what angles they're meant to be covering, which is a weird one, to be honest. DXavier realised this as well. Like, look, these guys are absolutely hurting. They will lose one player for it, but already now up to 7 eliminations for DXavier. What a result for them. I was considering putting this team in my top 6, but I ended up not doing it. I wasn't quite trusting after what we saw over in their own group. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong to doubt them. But we'll wait and see. Major Pride, Evo Station, Elementary, BTR. But it's nice to see BTR taking the initiative on this fight.
BTR trying to move Major Pride out the way. Been in a standoff on the island, the first and the way of BTR, these nades flowing out of Hut-In, effective. AZ really nowhere to help this one, and Major Pride just get cut in half here. That is really, really rough. As Beck is already on the far shoreline, though, they may be able to hold out BTR even only with 2.
It's a weird one because from Indonesia, those type of squads, they like to sub quite and figure out what the best roster is to work with, and I think that they've done that quite a lot towards the end of their group, and I don't think even they show what their dream roster was, but I like who they're fielding here. 77, Becca, found by AZ from pickoff, considering that is a solo, or one of the solos coming through from Major Pride. Becca,
I've just taken a look at the map and seen D plus Kias right in the middle as well, blank. So that's a mysterious apparition in the middle of the circle right now. They've managed to sneak their way past Tatmok and Cal to get a chunk. 37, they played into the circle very, very late, which is why we're seeing to go for this bridge crossing. They weren't in that standoff on the northwest. They played on that southwest drop spot early on in the match, and now they're trying to make their way across, but there's a bit of a roadblock in the way. Mage Pride's duo, Zeus on that south side, as we head on up to the north, and D plus Kia have managed to come up looking great on this, and so have Void Donkey ID.
Point Donkey ID, probably one of my favorite teams actually so far inside this survival stage. It says their improvement, like I think it was like 3 chicken dinners on the final day that they were able to pick up. It was wild. It was wild what they were able to do. They were really feeling themselves. But again, that's a team coming into this one with so much velocity from their group. They're going to be barreling towards a lot of these teams. With D plus Kia once again doing D plus Kia things, like you said, ethereal in their approach up towards that north side, able to find themselves a strong position. DXavier, I don't even think are aware that they are here. Mirror and Sejong, on the other hand, with obviously 3 players, do not have that same kind of rotational capability.
Cow conclusion necessary here for RCB and for Vampire, but one of them is not going to have the ending that they want. Vampire take first knock, but it's answered as well. A step around the side and again 2 knocks. And this third party's coming on through. That's from 4MV. That's from the remnants of Loops over in the lumberyard. The crossing, Wild can't control it. Steps out wide. Danger from 4MV on the south side, so needs to be careful. Vampire, they're losing players thick and fast. trying to dodge around the side here. Both need to go for the reload as Wild managed to restock on the ammunition. And that will be the end of the Vampires. Looking for that res, they'll play on as 3.
And Wild had some great movement there. It was very difficult, but you can tell just how skillful both those teams are. It was not easy to make happen. Zeus making a roll up towards the shack, and they just keep on going. Darkin's left behind for the time being, but that will be all she wrote for Zeus. They are not likely to get out from this position.
I mean, they've gotten rid of a lot of major pride. Mir and Sejong are in the compound, but they're flexing out over the hill. You can see they want some of this. They want these points, and rightly so. They're on 4. If they can rack up 2 more, that would be brilliant. Becca's across the way for major pride, the last player on the roster. But they all are going to have to move a little bit further in. If Mir and Sejong can control the south side of this curved hilltops on these rice fields, Blank, this is going to be a great spot for them, but they have to move further up.
Yeah, it's a nice spot to play for Mir and Sejong, honestly, being able to wrap around. Becca being found by Zeus there, so Aaron up to 4 eliminations. This guy is absolutely killer inside the lobby. Norfu, spotting one player up ahead of them, will take down Wild and Loxy. 6 elims now for D plus Kia. Really good start for them, but we've seen this before, John. We've seen a very good start for the South Korean squad, and it fizzled out on their next couple of days. Luckily, there's only 2 days to play here. You're working that. Hoxie, the little Foxy inside of this lobby at the moment with 4 elims, the only elims inside the team at the moment, actually. And now looking for more on these nades that look fairly decent. Cooked a little bit long on that one.
Oh, a nade finds Mir and Sejong up on the high ground from the Vicious. They are close to the circle. They're in their little divot, their little pitch. They're trying to hold out on it. They have to dig in harder than that, though, because Mir and Sejong are bearing down upon them. Jason now also falling, and they are starting to turn this one around. Reyes moves up into position. It's just final left, and the nade up high to the rock goes to the wrong side. Knows now that there's no one there, and this next nade might be able to find the mark. Reyes, is he going to get eaten? Yes. He's found a nice little bubble over the top, the bouncer.
It's a ridiculous nade, actually. It goes over the top side there. I wasn't thinking that was going to hit, but little bounce makes it happen. But Mir and Sejong are now in a sticky spot. 6 teams remaining at 17 minutes, stage 5. It's been one hell of an aggressive lobby, and you can understand why. These teams only have a couple of days to put up the points that they need to stay in that top 16. They do not want to be in that bottom 8, so the spread in terms of elims is very high. The teams are no longer looking for those. They still want consistent games, but they're looking for any kind of elims wherever they can find them, because this is a sweet part of the tournament right now.
Yeah, top 16 being the bubble, it makes a lot of difference to your playstyle, like you've highlighted there. I think that's something that we're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of, and it's kind of pretty good for us, I think, as viewers, as watchers, as fans of PUBG Mobile. We're going to get a lot more action. It's going to get hotter over the next few days. With the 3 days we've got to play here, each of our teams only plays in 2 of them, which just exacerbates that problem. It's a really interesting dynamic. Void Donkey ID currently with 3 eliminations. They're going to want to sweep through and get a lot more, but DXavier leading the charge on 9.
Yeah, DXavier had a really good start to this game, and somewhat feel like the strongest so far. But with Parajun going down over on that east side, things do get a little bit tough for them. 4MV though, what is going to happen with this team? Is Doc down? I think he is.
Yeah.
Max is not happy. I already know he's not happy. I can hear him screaming in the background.
All the way from France as well. That's crazy. Goodness me. He's a loud man. Yeah. Got a set of pipes on him. Hopefully 4MB can pipe up in this game too. They're on 3 eliminations and they've got a move to make from the southeast side from the lumberyard. Made over to final for DXavier, and they're holding in a little ditch right now on the top of the hill ridge. But a knock sent their way, that's going to make it a little bit easier for the teams to move around them, and it's Mir and Sejong who will profit the most from this. David on the back line for the Vicious, still trying to get on in, but the Blue Zone may just take care of business for them. Not going to get the point, but Mir and Sejong have a thorn removed from their side.
I do not think that Mir and Sejong can pick final back up again. It would be really tight for them to be able to do it. 4MV walking inwards, it's completely open ground. Apex should be the next to fall fairly soon. 4th place, not horrible. I like that everyone's made this exact same push. It's not worked 2 out of 3 times, but they're going for it again.
Surely
Goes in
way
at the
different.
top, but yeah, Fabian will make it happen though.
Yeah, D+ Kia on the north side, able to keep things on lockdown a little bit. Nobu on the back line is going to get rezzed here. It's all up to Fabian to keep this position held. Potato from Voin Donkey ID crawling up closer. And right now, looks like we could be in for a little standoff between Voin Donkey ID and D+ Kia, because DXavier, actually they've managed to move Levi's down into a decent position here. A flex out from Voin Donkey ID to maybe try and deal with it, but now Levi's spotted there. Nolbu able to get that knock, and it's just one player for DXavier left on the high ground, but they have got 12 Elins. They're looking for a 13th as well. Unlucky for some, but that is one happy team to be able to get that amount of points in, but 2 players roll up from D+ Kia, and you've got to imagine that's the end of it. Indeed, DXavier go down. Voin Donkey ID now looking to control.
Fantastic plays from D+ Kia, really good rotates. I mean, Fabian on this angle, he knows he's got a huge amount of oversight going on. Potato could be a problem, getting real close up towards Fabian now, does need to back off slightly. Razor off in the distance for Voin Donkey. Could easily be a Voin Donkey win if they play the cards right, but I don't think D+ Kia is going to let this one slip.
Want to keep them firmly in the driver's seat of it. Potato pressured out by Osal. That's smoke over towards the other position, but Fabian gets spotted. Razor does get traded off though, and Nolbu means takes them down into a 1v2. Unlikely you can res that for D+ Kia, so it is just a pure 1v2 here. Potato trapped in and then 8 over the top for Nolbu. Needs to try and isolate one of these angles. Cannot take a 2v1 with multiple peaks at the same time. Osal trying to drop down, and 8 goes long onto Potato, but out into the open, it's just not going to work out. And it is D+ Kia to add another Sandhawk chicken dinner to their tally. Will it be enough?
This is what we wanted. I mean, will it be enough? I don't know. It's first game, John. Come on. Give him a little bit of credit on that one. This is the idea of momentum that we were talking about earlier. They were fresh off from Group Green, but they look good either way. It feels like they have fixed some of the mistakes on side and trusting a little bit more of those off angles. It did feel like it came down to a point where it was like Osal was sort of the only player on that team really pushing the limits of that squad. But it's nice to see Fabian back off on an off angle.
Well, the hope is for D+ that this isn't a one and off, and this isn't a fall down from what we saw in their group back in Group Green. We had them in top 3, I feel like, for the majority of the days, but when it came to the final day, they just couldn't keep up, and they eventually fell down the leaderboards and netted themselves here into the survival stage. But a good start here at a D+, Max.
Yeah, very good start. I mean, we also have to keep in mind, Jason, they lost a player instantly upon phase 1 versus Inco. They were down to 3 and understood, okay, taking fights head on, not going to be quite the play. We're going to avoid all of those fights near Cowl, send it straight in the center of the circle and just try and survive. And then when we do have circle control, when teams are forced to come our direction out of these strong POIs like your Cowl, like your tap marks, that's when we're going to start getting involved in this conversation. That's when we're going to try to get as many limbs as we possibly can. And Hodgix, as we see right now, the amount of control they showcased at the end of this game is absolutely incredible.
I don't know how they do it, dude. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can't express just how insane this team is on Sandhawk. These guys drop docks. They drop in docks, and they move all the way up into the zone and are able to get so many eliminations. Noble as well. I mean, even at the end, that 2 push onto DXavier to just clutch the victory. I mean, these guys are starting off so strong. I hope they can just replicate that in the other maps.
I mean, we can't forget about the fact they did win 2 Sandhawks in their respective group as well, which is kind of funny to see, right? And then we had DRS obviously take one later on. But yeah, I mean, Nobu, like normally we talk about Osal's being a standout player here, but Nobu with the 977 damage done here, Max, are really stepping up when they need it, because they obviously won the game, but they had to defend up against RCB Crash with only the 3 players alive.
Yeah, it's mostly thanks to the off angles that Fabian was able to offer Nobu and Osal, and that just allowed him to go absolutely crazy. crazy in these fights, Jason. They were just sending on everyone. As you talked about that third party, especially Hotrix of Void Donkey versus DX, that was an incredible 2-1 push, keeping the angle in the back, making sure they can play that Ridge as comfortably as they really want to. And yeah, then you just see the numbers come through pretty naturally because the angle enables you so heavily. So yeah, D+, I just hope, Jason, we don't see a little bit of a fall off like we saw in the group stage, but this is a similar start, and I gotta say, their third party, their timing was absolutely on point, and I love to see that from them in the first game.
Well, not only them, their brethren, Mir and Sejong here, Hotrix, having a fairly decent game as well here, playing from that south side.
Yeah, I mean, Mir and Sejong, they land right where this circle pretty much ended up on, right? So, I mean, this should have been, I think, a little bit more of a solid match from them. But, I mean, for the first match of the day, I always have, like, I call it the Hot Jukes excuse card. I punch it for everybody for game one. You know what I'm saying? Because Sandhawk, new group, it can get a little bit sketchy. But MSG, to be able to put up some good eliminations is a great start for sure.
We actually, talking about the teams that reached the late game, we have to bring up D Xavier, right? Like, let's not forget, they were involved in a hot shot over in Paradise Resort versus Stalwart and completely just swept the floor with them, to be completely honest. Like, they just completely destroyed Stalwart in that position, then initiate the transition point and take control of that high ground north of Mir and Sejong, Hodrix. That was a great transition point for them, and then they can just exude as much control on the lobby as they really want to. And off the back of that, they are going to be the top fragging team this game with 13 points. GX coming in to play.
Going that full IHC route here, like I said, like we're talking about. I mean, the aggression on DX Xavier is phenomenal, but can they maintain it when we get obviously into these other matches? 4V coming in from Kao too, getting some 7 points for themselves. They ended up having to deal with loops, and RCB were there as well, but RCB ended up rotating into D+ instead. Zeus getting some good eliminations. RCB got some good eliminations here as well. But another team we're going to have to talk about that it was kind of confusing in terms of what they were doing. We were a little bit, disagree with each other on what were the reasoning behind this. But Bigatron on Northwest Island, I know you brought this out first, Max, if you can talk us through it, but Hans was kind of playing away from his team.
Yeah, so the rest of the team and 3 of the players were playing the Northwest Mountain, as the team that typically drops there would do. But Hans was just scouting the northern coast, and I really thought for the longest time, Jason, the idea was, we're going to find a boat. If it goes over to the eastern mainland, then we're just going to do a quick boat take before any team has the chance to react, before any team has a chance to get control of strong positions in the circle near the coast, and we're just going to claim that position first. I thought that was the whole game plan. I don't know if they just didn't find a boat or whatever happened, but that scouting really didn't give them too much in the end, which I think is a bit unfortunate. There was a really good opportunity to pull one of the best boat takes outside of the Team Spirit one that we've seen this PMGC.
I mean, it's kind of hard to top that one. But if we're talking about rotations, Hotchukes, also 77 has to be brought up here. I know we were looking at this and Max was getting furious about them. They're dropping over in Same, but they rotate through Northwest Island instead of going towards mainland.
Hesitation? It's wild because 77, we saw them go on over. It looks like they were going to do this rotated late circle 2, and instead just are like, oh yeah, by the way, if we attempt this, we're 100% dead because we're going to be so late. All the main edge areas right there on the side near Cow are already going to be taken right now. So they just say, you know what, forget the rotate. Let's go ahead and drive super late into this circle, and then they just got obliterated. So yeah, 77 just got, I think, too much in their heads, and instead they should have just, slowly just crept in, and you got to just battle it out sometimes. Sometimes, those little sneaky D+ Kia rotations are just not available.
I think looking at 77, Hodrix, there were 2 good options. It was all the early rotates, which, as we saw, did not happen, or going to the eastern mainland. Going to the west, you're forcing yourself to cross 2 bridges. You know what? Being gate kept by, not 1 team, not 2 teams, but at that point, I think it was 4 teams. Look in your direction. So 77, sure, it's only 1 Sanok a day, but the next time, hopefully they go for a little bit of an easier route, because I think they just tuned the game mode to hardcore for themselves this game, and they could definitely have made it a bit easier.
Yeah, obviously adaptations are going to be very important. I mean, I think you look at this in paper and it's like, as long as you're not a bottom 8 team, you get into last chance. But this is PMGC. All these teams are insanely good. I'm looking for this adaptation. Stalwart, are they going to go boot camp again? Or sorry, Paradise. No, it was Paradise, I believe they dropped, right?
Yeah.
Paradise up against DX Xavier, or are they going to adapt? Are they potentially going to be finding a team in Picado later on? You can't be hot dropping in 50% of the matches here and try to avoid bottom 8. So I'm really curious if we're going to have those adaptations going into these future days.
I hope so. And that's why you see these teams. You can see the little pictures there down at the bottom. These guys know where each other are going to drop. They want to avoid those hot drops pretty much at all costs, and especially in Erangel, because we got 3 of those maps. It's the big chunk of it, and that's honestly why I'm so concerned, right? For one team in particular, and that's Team Liquid, right? I think Team Liquid have a lot of things going against them in this one because Erangel was their slowest map. We heard Knight talk about it, their coach, saying that, hey, we're the kings of Miramar. We got to fix Erangel. And just unfortunately, they were within. Well, they're going to do it now. That's the big question.
Oh, we'll find out with 7. Who actually does have Team Liquid on the stage.
Welcome back to a quick report with the 7WG. This one is going to be in regards to Team Liquid. Before we get into Erangel, this was a team that actually struggled massively with Erangel. They were averaging about a 13th place finish right up until the last day when they decided to switch it up in Erangel, and they started averaging a 6th place finish. A much better improvement out of this team. I got a chance to talk tonight even a little bit more, and they said that they went back all the way to the early spring PMSL of Americas, and on top of that, they went back to look at PMWC, the first stages of group, because they were performing so well. They wanted to see what they were doing right and compare it to what they were doing wrong. So we should be seeing a much stronger Team Liquid. And another team that I want to talk about is going to be none other than Void Donkey. Void Donkey told me that they're not going to be landing Primors because Vampire Esports is here. So a lot of changes happening here at Survival Stage.
I find that interesting. Actually curious to your thoughts here, Hodrix, as you were just talking about Team Liquid. To go looking back to like spring, to look back to PMWC to see how we were playing well, I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're going back, and going through the playbook to figure out like, hey, what do we got to fix here? And it's going to be a lot. Watching them change their secondary drop location, it does show a sign of weakness to me. I got to be honest here, because the biggest teams in the world, they don't change no matter what, right? Secondary or whatever. So Team Liquid, they have that going against them, and even worse, they're in Group Green, guys, right? So they only play today, tomorrow. Group Yellow and Red are going to know exactly how many points they're going to need to pass them up. So Team Liquid have to hit pedal to the metal right here, right now.
And only 2 days to play here to really make your stance, get yourself the points you need to maintain a top 16 finish. Let's head into our first Erangel 3 of the day. Once again here with John Allen and Blink.
Each of our teams has 6 maps on Erangel to play, and this will be the first go-around. From Primorsk over towards Kameshki on the plane path, it looks like, certainly up towards Stalba. We're not going to see 2 teams drop in Primorsk. It's only going to be the Vampires taking up residency on the southwest point.
It's fair enough. I mean, we talked before about this, John. I wouldn't want to fight against Vampires either. They're a pretty chaotic team when it comes down to it, and when it comes to chaos, that's not something you really want in Survival Stage. You'd rather something a little bit consistent. But if you can get third parties like we saw versus DX Xavier earlier on, that's certainly something teams are definitely looking for at the moment.
Vampire going to be staking their claim to the southwest side. We'll see if there are any more snafus in the early game to kick things off. Who's going to take the military base? Who's going to take control of that bridge crossing as well? Without CAG Osaka, 4MV going to have a better time getting across. Like, what's happening there?
It's actually a funny thing, because I was about to say the same thing in terms of, look, CAG Osaka not being in the lobby might be the most happy thing right now for 4MV. Question is, are Void Donkey going to take up that same kind of control? Because currently they're playing towards very Pier. They do have an outpost over towards Gatka, John, though, so that leads me to believe that they're not going to go for something too crazy. With the circle heading up towards Saverny, might be a chance for 4MV to maybe head east.
I feel like that would make more sense, right? Because you're dropping out on that low west side rather than on the low east side of the map. And in general, with this circle, you're not going to see too much stock in those positions like Milta, like South Coast Farm. Major Pride very likely to leave there. Void Donkey could be just hopping back to 4, it could be a vehicle and then a regroup down south, but with this circle, it's you want to regroup a little bit.
It's hard as well because with the way that we saw the plane path go through from Primorsk up towards Stalber, there's now that question in your mind of whether you want to rotate on the western side of the map, because that is a hard place to rotate from as well with the amount of teams in that area. But it is the Vicious coming up against Zeus, losing Rita as well. And Rita, although not always the strongest player on the squad, he is a very reliable squad mate to have. A lot of times playing that backstop, and we know from watching teams like Twisted Minds, you need a reliable backstop, and that is what Doran kind of set himself up at. So losing Rita, that's really quite not good.
Yeah, and for Zeus as well. For Zeus up on that northwest side, they are already in Severny, so a team in a central position, losing that player in this central position when you need to be strong on the defense now with the circle is a really inopportune moment. But the Vicious lose 1-2 over in Yasnaya, so a 1-for-1 trade coming on in, or trying to figure out who got that elim. Looks like, it was from the high ground. A pretty solid hop out there. It felt like Reza kind of forgot to take that final shot.
Yeah, David was very low. He was very, very low. I feel like he should have gone down there. Maybe Rita was just out of ammo. But yeah, an unfortunate trade for them. Considering now you do have Zeus up in Severny, that's a fantastic spot to be in a lot of times. With only 3 players, you do lack a little bit of control in that area going forward. Now, I'm curious, not only about Zeus, John, I'm also curious about RCB going forward. Max on the desk was praising them earlier, and so he should do. Some of their rotations was absolutely phenomenal going into Group Green. I am curious to see if they can pull that off here, but I don't want it to always be Silas leading the charge. And I think we did see that in the final game of Miramar, where Silas went down, the rest of the team was like, we have to step up. This guy has been doing so much for us, and we really need to rally around each other and not just Silas every time.
Yeah, they need to back him up a little bit. This guy's a world champion. He's got the chops for it. The rest of them do too, but they needed to realise that. Unleash their inner Silas in them all. They'll be able to do the same here in the survival stage. But again, back to that point about what is survival stage. You just need consistent mid-level points, right? If you're putting up 6 points a game, it is quite likely that you're getting to the last chance, right? That's where you need the big breakout performances. So we'll see if those playstyles get adjusted to that.
With the 6 points per game, you're absolutely right. In terms of getting last chance, that'll do it for you. And I think it'll be the first day for both the groups that are having their first day of play, right? At the moment, for Group Green, specific do need to have a really big breakout performance on their first day, which is why you are seeing teams go for some very high. It might not always be advisable at this point, but you can give yourself a little bit of a buffer going into tomorrow so you can see yourself ahead. That will be ideal. Like Jukes was saying, it's a good point to make as well in terms of, Group Red and Yellow. They'll both know the exact margin that they need to hit. So some of our squads do want to really pump those points up on their first day, and they do that through third parties, which is very doable over on Sandhawk. Slightly less doable right now in these stages, at least on Arangel, with this circle going so far up towards the north.
Our teams have crunched into that north circle as well. Now loops into the shooting range hills. RCB trying to find their footing nearby, maybe able to split off a little bit of the difference. RCB with the position up in the buildings on that east compound, the west compound going to loops, so they should be fairly chill right now for their current position. The next circle will give them some trouble depending on where we shift out to.
It's a hard place to find a home for us at the moment. And I think that with Loops finding that crossing, now they're out in the opening. Like you say, well, the next is a case where us could get troublesome because they don't quite have a compound to play. And it's likely you're going to either a crash or maybe a D plus Kia rotate where suddenly you're in the center of the circle and no one knows how.
Yeah, it's just, you just appear there. It's a play Pubg Mobile, all things considered. Just getting a central spot immediately. Who could complain? Team Liquid, they currently yet to get off the mark. Them and Vampires, the only 0-point teams right now. And they will position fairly central as well, just up the hill from those two positions that we saw from RCB and from Loops, but maybe still trying to joust it out on that shooting range hill. Goodness me. Stalwart coming in for a river crossing fairly soon. Some teams still coming in fairly late. 4MV still on that military island. So going to be trying to find their way across quite late on in this circle. Won't have a position to play around, so scouting very, very necessary. And the good news for me, Blank, is that Doc is at the back of that approach.
Yeah, they've sent him right to the back of the queue there. Look, you will not be lining up. You will not be the first one, right? You're our backstop. Or it could go a completely different way, and Pog just never regroups. All right, he's just going to stay in Sosnovka. But it does feel like there's a bit of Sosnovka trauma here for 4MV in terms of when they're rotating, how they're rotating. They're quite scared of Lighthouse at the moment. They did all the way up until just the ending of stage 1 before they made this. Fair enough. I think they're very, very worried about getting taken out early here. They're a team that plays phenomenally well when they have 4 players up. Like, as a group towards stage 5, you're like, right, 4MV is going to get a big game. But it has been so many times in the past where we've seen stage 2, stage 3 for 4MV be the worst times for them, where they'll lose 1 or 2 players and that's it, the game's over.
They just get shredded apart like a bag of cheese, Blank, and then sprinkled over the rest of the lobby's point scoring. So it hasn't been illustrious for them, but they will look to repair. Vampire also on a bit of a late rotate, this time over in George Pole. So they are going over that West George Pole long bridge to get up towards the north side. I think it's a wise rotate from Vampires at stage 2. You can survive the blue easily, and pushing in from the west side seems to be fairly uncontested. Stalwart may try and jump up in there as well, but an open bit of ground for them, and probably their most viable approach. Over in the meantime, we've got Vicious, who I thought they lost a player earlier, but I think they just had a oh yeah, because he got sprayed down super low with super low on the ground. Major Pride crashing on into the middle and having a bad time of it, losing Elementrix. That point goes over to Loxy as Limbo Boom is going to oversee Satira getting down off the hillside as well.
A bit of a rough rotation for these squads, to be honest. It does shift hard up towards that north side again. Cardozen goes down early for Team Liquid as they move up. That was towards Zeus, and now they look to face off versus Becca, a lone soldier inside this building. They haven't quite spotted him on the stairs just yet, though. This could be a sneaky pickup. When I say the Team Liquid, they just want this to be a clean fight for them. They don't want to lose a single player, but it's a good return fire for them.
Yeah, a little bit overzealous there from Becca, jumping at the opportunity a little bit too quickly, and Major Pride, again, losing 2 at early points in this game is going to be bad news. We talked about 4MV getting cut down. The same is true now for Major Pride, 2 games on the trot, so they'll need to find some repair on that one for the next games. They've also still got 2 players in this one, so how much value can they extract? Zeus still up on the north side, allowing teams into the south of Severny, Blank. I mean, with 3 players, it seems like a not terrible decision, but what it does mean is you're locked in to fight them when the circle pushes you out of it.
I think for Zeus, there is actually ability to make move towards the north side. With how north the circle has gone, I mean, it's like half of the circle in the water right now. There is some positions to move up, but you're right. In terms of leaving, there are so many side of Severny that there is likely to be some kind of fight going through. So I think for these teams, they do hoping for more of a sense called the Vicious losing from nose into dog very long here. I think he took some extra tax to food. Should be a flush. They play their cards right, but they're going out that way, including smokes. But now's the time for 4MV. I don't think you can stay in this area for too much longer. They've been spotted. Doc takes a fair bit of damage. And again, stage 2, stage 3, do not want to see players going down.
I could hear Maxman tensing as well as soon as taking damage from the off angle. He stayed there praying too much, and probably that criticism is still valid even if he doesn't get knocked. Another hard shift on this northwest circle, though, is going to mean that 4MV, again, on the long side of this, are going to need to figure out their approach. Vampire, their approach from the west flank has worked out very, very well.
It's hellish for a lot of our teams over towards the east here, because there is that problematic crossing into the circle where Severny is a wall right now in terms of squads, in terms of teams. For Mir and Sejong, I'm curious to see how they play this one out, because they absolutely do need to hold face versus Voindon. He is a fantastic spot to be in.
Oh, a nice shutdown off to the off angle there. against Voin Donkey. Final hops out. Voin Donkey do fall entirely. 16th place, no elims. North side, there's a roll up now from Loops. Back on into the fight. Mirror and Sejong looking to try and defend, but they've already got 4 elims. How much more value do they want? Can they get final down first? And the roll in is a little bit of Arias. Nino does fall. Continue on the outside. Neil as well on the off angle. So just leaves save the whoop. They find the frags. Loops lose 1, but the approach is still good.
It is. This approach, I mean, I don't know how he got through that building. Now, how is there no off angle on this one? Finds at least one, Say will find another knock and into a second. There's someone upstairs. Look for the top fight. They keep limbs off the back of it. So Mirror Sejong, although didn't look great, 70 limbs on the game off the back of that. I don't think they'll be too unhappy with how disastrous that fight was for them.
Team Liquid sideline nades onto the engagement here between BTR and Zeus. As Team Liquid can value from these as well. Big knocks being found on both of these squads, and Team Liquid have just managed to pick themselves up a fantastic situation. They need to capitalize on it now because a lot of these knocks haven't been confirmed. Move on in, find these wounded players, pick up these points, add them to the tally. For the Brazilian team, it's now or never to pick up a big game. Well, they've got a couple more opportunities, but this is a great one for them. Satar on the inside, trying to handle Mythic on the swing, but it's not going to work out. Team Liquid keep their players alive, and are looking for more. Hopping over to the southeast side flank at 77, trying to make their way on through. They have Magnum knocked, they've lost Limbo Boom, but they can get back to their feet.
A massive amount of action around the map at the moment, and this is what we were talking about earlier in terms of that wall that was Severny. That wall has been broken down, but it left a lot of casualties inside the lobby with 5 teams going out at the moment. Absolute insanity over towards that eastern edge. In stage 3 as well, no less. Massive amount of elims going through, but for Team Liquid, a very good start for them. 7 eliminations in a fight between 2 teams. That's what you want to see from Team Liquid. That is the sort of we're expecting in their group, but we just never were able to see it come through for them. In the meantime, though, RCB do make that rotate talking earlier about how, you know what, from looking fed for this squad. When the northeast shift on the circle, RCB actually have a fantastic point to play from.
Difficult shots to try and deal with as it's now the southwest side flank that is starting to heat up. Can they move towards RCB? After concluding this one, Inko losing 2 on the position against Critter, but a third a little bit too much. Vitali into the position to look for these reses. If Inko can get 4 players back alive, they would be laughing, but they have got a difficult rotate ahead of them. And still looking to disengage as well.
Somewhat attempts to get away from this one. Inko lose a fair good amount of players, but it should be a reset for them, I'd imagine here, right? Surely. 15 seconds on the circle coming in, though. It's a bit of a struggle for them to maybe move out. With Stalwart getting ahead here, is Sanchez down and only Fearless left remaining. Xavier having eyes on over towards this position as well. Somewhat of an isolated fight between this position on the western side with Major Pride, Stalwart, Xavier, Loops, 4 and B on a very, very big map for themselves over towards the northwest.
On the position that Xavier are now in. Blank RCB actually left the position we were talking about and they went into Severny. I was wondering, where are they going? Why are Xavier able to take this spot? Well, they've actually sent all the way in and actually not taken any casualties either. Xavier taking a knock on the Lamborghini, but it should be covered off enough to get a res, maybe. But no, there's danger afoot. It's Inko trying to roll on in too.
There's so many teams in Severny right now, by the way, John. The Vicious just rocked up. 77's trying to hold on. Inko on doing a bad job, honestly, from the position they were in. I did not expect them to get too much further into this lobby. And now it's down to Paragen, who just take a couple of tags there from Vitali. It is sent back their way, but Levi's on that front line that absolutely had to stay alive to give that position a bit more strength for Xavier. He's down. Now Inko can start to work the problem.
Nades over, shots back and forth, and first blood drawn against both of these 2 rosters. Nade from Juancho. We're going to try and open it up. There's a rotate around through the back as well. I think is that Vampire trying to chime on in. Inactive. Going to be taken down first. Xavier still on 4 if they can get this res, but the nades, they're going to make that all the harder. Levi's flashed away. Vitali gets some value from it. For Inco, Lamborghini nade to the back line. A lot of damage sent to Nenebete as well, as they continue to layer it on thick. And that is a nice little pickup there for DXavia. They are in control of this one, and a second knock found.
Yeah, really good nades to hold back the tide from Inco, from DXavia on this fight. Now just one player left remaining in Vitali, who has been quite sick with it, actually, for Inco here. Almost made it work versus DXavia, but they're playing it safer with the nades at the top. Should finish it out, and DXavia with 5 more eliminations, taking back the top spot inside the lobby. They'll pop their teammate back inside the vehicle and potentially try and drive out of here. Here's 4MV. They only had 2 players left remaining versus Major Pride's 2. Apex last left alive for the squad of a player knocked. Vampires, I respected the play. They saw the fight between DXavia and Inco, John. They were like, we're going to roll on past.
They're in an interesting spot right now. The danger of it, I mean, with the circle moving away, it's going to be a Severny scrap, I think. But the danger of it is as soon as that ridge line to their west gets occupied, they're done for, right? They're absolutely done. Unless the teams in Severny protect the ridge line for them, right? And that's really what you're banking on. So dangerous position, but as a solo, probably one of your very few options that you could do successfully. And they're going to have to move up north now. The coastline looking pretty appetizing, but the fact that we're into stage 6 blank and we're looking at 40% water here is crazy.
Here's a wild situation for Loops. Neil's going to stay outside the water, try and live this game out as much as possible. But you're right, we're likely heading over towards the scratch of it, and in between 4 squads at least, with Team Liquid, RCB, The Vicious, as well as 77. 77 in a slightly weird scenario, as they are on that eastern side. They do have to work their way around, but if they can get control over towards those north buildings, they have a lot more positioning to play in and possible loot to work with too. Big Pride sends out into the water. Do they know Neil's here?
They should be aware of it now. Nades being cooked. Danger here. You can't take shots back if you're out in the drink. Neil's going to spot them. Spots that roll up, and AC goes down first into the boat Evo station. Looking to be a turret on the water here. Danger from the Severny. That's going to be the end of it. Immediately attention is drawn, and Loops pick up a point. Mage Pride eliminated. Team Liquid get one too.
I am the mermaid. Me alone. Mermaid Neil. On the case. Yeah, good shots. Really, really good shots, actually. I wasn't expecting to immediately get the knockover towards AC, John. And it's not always, we know, because we've seen a lot of games that taking shots out into the water is not the same as shooting a guy out in the open. Sometimes those bullets will miss, sometimes those bullets won't go far enough, but that was one of the quickest knocks I've seen in terms of just a pop-up into a knock, and then he sat inside the boat. Immediately, Team Liquid's looking over towards that location. Loops is very fortunate that their Brazilian friends inside of Severny do spot that one.
Trying to get the clock to tick down on the players on the outside. Everyone in Severny desperately wanting to cling to this. Again, another elimination game for DXavia. But they are on the outside right now. The only team really with any presence on the outside, which means they have control of this ridgeline, but the blue zone will push them off of it. Do they have anywhere to go in front of them?
DXavia now looking over towards the southeast side here. Towards Stone, who is likely to go down. For DXavia, essentially for this team, they're likely going to have to go for some very much ghillie-style plays over towards the eastern side and just try and remain out of dodge for as long as possible. Good pickup from the Vicious over towards Zadira, though. That is a big pick-off. The fact that Zadira goes down early like that as well, John, is very bad news for 77. They had so much control over this eastern side, and now with Vicious being able to push up a little bit further, David and Diminor, both very strong players, could potentially overtake 77.
Oh, that's a cruel circle to DXavia, but how much further can they go? As Loops do lose Mermaid Neil. The tail's not flipping anymore, unfortunately. There's not going to be too much more they can do about that. DXavia now could move out to the coastline feasibly, but there's just so little ridgeline to play around, and you're super exposed exactly where you are.
It's so open. So unbelievably open for DXavia on the western side, John. I feel really bad for them, honestly, because I don't think they've played a bad game whatsoever, and their control over towards this western side has been very, very good. Unfortunately, you're right. Likely in the near future, they will be going down. A lot of the teams in Severny just making sure that this is centered in Severny. There's no other teams making their way in because RCB, The Vicious, 77, Team Liquid all know where one another are playing. They're trying to get rid of those outside chances, the things that might cause problems in the near future.
Xavier sending up to that coastline, that low ridgeline, really their only bastion to try and hold that. Loot crate is in the circle, Paragin leading the charge. The vehicles could be impromptu cover for them, but down behind it, there's suppression back from the ridgelines as well as the second player from Xavier falls. A third, Lamborghini, he's made it into Severny on a corner. Let's see if 77 handle it.
It's the outside opportunity I was talking about, the anomaly of the lobby. 77 were able to take a shot over towards the Vicious, but unable to confirm on that flush. And now they know there is a player in the wings. Out comes a couple of our players from 77. They will finish off Nadetti. That's Lamborghini down. So good stuff. Good stuff overall from 77, but the fact they went from 4 players in a very strong spot on the eastern side, now down to 2, is a very unfortunate situation for them.
Yeah, losing out, but they've got 7 eliminations already, so they go down here, it's 7-7 with 7, which I'm pretty happy about. Maybe 7 can interview them about it. And RCB from the southwest side, they're playing in with 4. Team Liquid, a high-value game. That's what they found on that scrap between, I think it was BTR and Zeus. They were able to extract a lot of points from that. They're up to 10 eliminations already, so this west side, if RCB want a good game, they're going to need to take down Team Liquid here.
I'd quite like to see RCB take this match as well, because for them, this has been a really tough crossing from the south side and Rozhok. There were so many teams ahead of them. We talked about how they were out in the open earlier on. Luke's been able to take up those compounds ahead of them. So I was actually somewhat confused they were able to get into this position, and something that I hope that the desk is able to enlighten me about, as I was obviously distracted in that moment. Yeah, very, very good game from RCB so far in terms of control. Obviously, you don't have the same amount of eliminations as Team Liquid, who are trying to extract everything that they can from this lobby so they can continue on to last chance.
And that's the thing about this survival stage is 2, 3, probably, 4 good games are what you're looking for here, right? But if you get 3 on the cards, that can basically see you safe almost just off the rip. Yeah, this shift over towards them. To be very happy with it for Team Liquid.
You're absolutely right. In terms of 3, 4 good games, that might be all you need. And if you're able to do that now and give yourself a buffer on your first day, that's the most important thing. So every single one of these teams looking for a strong match here. A chicken dinner would be awesome, but with this circle moving over towards the western side, that somewhat cuts out 77 and the Vicious. They'll likely conclude their engagement on the eastern side, but again, it's such a shame that 77 with 4 players has now gone down to 2. You're unsure of how it's happened, you're unsure why it happened, but there you go. 77 have made quite a few mistakes in the past. It was only up until those final moments in their group that we started to see them play to the potential that we expected them to be at.
Nades over RCB looking to push up, get rid of Team Liquid here. 4 players still for RCB, but damage going to be sent their way. Chief and Ayala out on the back wall here on the compound. That may catch RCB by surprise. Chief launching a long nade down the edge, but RCB retreat. Don't take a knock just yet. The nades to follow it up, and RCB flurry into the building to try and get a little bit of cover against them. Now that wall position has been spotted. It will be known. In the meantime, 77 managed to eliminate the Vicious on the east side, so they can get into the next circle, maybe get up to a second place here.
Yeah, for 77, there's actually a high likelihood they'll get a second place, because this fight most likely will conclude before they even get across. I am wondering how many both teams have left on side. You're almost wondering whether RCB were trying to take that initial engagement because they know that they're fairly decent when it comes to meds, but I would be wrong there too. Level 1 helmet, level 2 vest, 0 first aid kits. Dear me, for RCB, starting to get real rough.
With 3 limbs, even with the placements, it's a decent game, but it's not a big game for RCB. It's not one of those good games that we were talking about that can see you safer. not able to check that box off just yet. I mean, this fight, they're probably aware. I mean, RCB retreated from this. They made the call. We don't need to go for this right now. We don't need to conclude this fight. Let's just keep these placement points coming. Because getting into second place worth 6 points minimum. Maybe they just want to force 77 to take that step forwards, guarantee that second spot.
Yeah, I think for both these teams, they'd be absolutely delighted to see that happen. I think both the squads on the west side, like, we don't want a second place. We don't want a third place. Let's just wait out 77. We can take our fight afterwards. So for 77, it is unfortunate. The only way that this changes if there is somewhat of a wild knock that comes through from RCB onto Team Liquid, in which case I think that they would push it, John. But that might come off the back of Wild's nade here on RCB. But yeah, I do think this is going to all slow down up until stage 9, most likely.
Nobody wants to make that move, least of all 77. They are starting to establish smokes. Or well, they're thinking about it. You can see both Magnum and Shifu. They're just going to have to put out as much smoke as possible and hope that one of them gets across. And even if they do, Ayala's waiting for them. Team Liquid have such a strong barrier to come up against. It's going to be a miracle if they can make it.
It's all slowing down. But I don't really want to see Silas use this nade. He's only got one in the back pocket. I think he'd be better off used later on versus Team Liquid, as they are all in the 1 stories. Fairly easy to nade out from. But you can understand why he's going for it though, John. With the fact that you might be able to pick yourself up 2 eliminations off the back of this. We'll see what happens. Because we are just waiting now 7 seconds. 77, 7 elims to make something work.
They managed to rack it up to 9, so they've ruined the Rhine, but they've got a reason to go for it. Magnum actually moving forwards first. Shifu going to be moving around in the building as well as Magnum crawls across Ayala. He's going to spot this. Surely he's going to spot this. He's going to know exactly what he's dealing with and immediately goes for the spray down. It's Shifu, though, to take the majority of the damage as Magnum continues to commando crawl back through. Will get spotted, and that will be the end of it. Second place now guaranteed for both of our teams on the western side, and they can start to go for the fight.
12 elims on top of the 4 coming through from RCB. That would be a 16 plus a chicken dinner 26-point game, which would be massive for Team Liquid coming into this. But RCB, they have that manpower. They've got the man advantage on side. That's one of the very few nades that RCB has. And it does absolutely nothing.
Floxy on the wall. Could be first to face Team Liquid. But the 12 elims have locked down a good game already, but RCB want to put more up on the card. Getting a chicken dinner here would be great. It would put 6 elim chicken dinner, a 16-point game would be great. For RCB and the team from Turkey would be happy to achieve that, but right now they just haven't got an opening through towards Team Liquid.
Chief. This guy, it all depends on Chief right now. He has so many angles to work with, and he has to call out on this left flank. That's going through, so Mythic can potentially take a shot. Lovely angle we get here, going towards that top side. Loxy getting up towards the car is a really big deal. That means Kimmers can make his way up too. All slowing down.
The staircase, Chief still holding the off angle. Numbers advantage still there. I think Team Liquid are out of nades as well. But it's go time. Smoke up the corners, smoke up the corridors, the sidelines. Loxy low but not down. As Kimmers, same story. Out on the inside, needs to get the healing before the blue zone touches him. If RCB can make this crossing, it's anybody's game. It's their chance to make this one work, but it's only bandages for Loxy. Mythic goes down first. 2 players now stand in the way. A compaction from Silas. He doesn't have the meds, but he's got the guts. And he goes up the stairs with it. Wild finds Chief, and now it's only Ayala to stand in the way, and Turkey take it down. From the south, they roll on up. and it is an amazing push over to Team Liquid.
I mean, it's a dangerous push as well towards the rooftops. I respect the fact they went for it and they weren't happy with just the 2 elims and letting that go down to the play zone, but very, very well played from RCB. Really good pusher from Loxy, though. And I think we talk about Silence a lot, but Loxy didn't get up towards that car on the eastern side. That was such a huge pickup from him to give the rest of the team an opening to move in versus Team Liquid.
Good way to start off our spree of Erangels here as RCB take home the first chicken dinner of 3. And I mean, Max, you were kind of talking about it right before we came on air. A very risky play for them to go up the staircase for that.
Oh, Silas, you absolute crazy man. The staircase and the door, Hot Jukes, is smoked up, and my man's like, I'd win. He got knocked, but you know what? They did win the game at the end eventually, so it was definitely a successful push. But RCB, so many good rotates, Hot Jukes, from their initial rotation of Rozok, and I know Blank was interested in how they moved. They kept just being slightly ahead of the teams on the edge, so like not quite edge, but barely in, and they would facilitate their transitions at every single circle shift to then play the edge of Severny. Hot Jukes, that was just such a good rotate, passive rotates, but it gets them to the late game, and as you see, they just pop off with the shotguns and get the win.
Oh man, what a beautiful win indeed. Silas with that clutch punch shotty there at the start was able to get that done, and I actually don't mind that push towards the end because I think he knew that we were so ahead in manpower. I'm just gonna push up this roof and make sure that we can secure this with the blue zone that's about to close on them. But I mean, it was very risky for a second because they almost did go 1v1v1. But man, a good chicken dinner from Regnum Karya, but I will say a more impressive performance from Team Liquid there. An insane amount of eliminations, dude. But could you imagine if they just had like 1 nade or maybe 2 left? That would have been so huge for them.
I have to say, Hodrix, looking at this game, Team Liquid and RCB, sure, of course, RCB ended up winning the game, but Team Liquid put on an absolute clinic this match. Like, realistically, we were saying it all the time in their group. Oh, they're only doing well on Miramon, the last game of the day, haha, funny meme, haha, very cool. But, man, this is very, it was hilarious. It was a good running gag, but this is the way you play City finishes, Hodrix. The amount of control, especially, I want to highlight one player, is Chief. He knew the weakness of their position was to get wrapped around the wall. He was holding that for literally 5, 6, 7 minutes at the end of that game because he knew if he goes down, the team goes down. So he was holding it as long as he possibly could.
I mean, there was an opportunity for him actually probably to have won the game if we think back to it, right? Because Chiefs, you mentioned he was holding off on that angle along the wall, and RCB did sit 2 players alongside the wall towards him for 1 nade. If he threw it maybe 3 seconds earlier, he would have caught out potentially 2 players, and maybe that would have been the go time for them to actually take out RCB. I mean, you have to really give him credit, obviously, with playing that kind of anchor position. But also Kimmy's, he was also playing an anchor position off towards the side, Hot Jukes, preventing Chief from spotting Silence on top of the building.
Yeah, dude, beautifully done there. I mean, that last play execution, it just comes down to who could hit those shots. And you could also go to see if Mystic was able to hit that shot on that one player from RCB while he was running across. That would have evened up the fight. But at the end of the day, you know, you just got to look at it and be happy with what they got. And, you know, one thing that made things even more impressive, at least in my opinion, was looking at the plane path, right? This was actually a pretty, like, awkward plane path for Team Liquid because it went right pretty much dead center in between Shelter and South George. Those are their 2 drop locations. So they had to make a decision, literally a coin flip decision. Where do we go? Do we go Shelter? Do we go to South George? And instead they decide, you know what? Let's just go to that secondary drop. Let's head over that way towards South George. And it worked out perfectly for them considering that we had a northern circle.
It allowed them to just get ahead of this lobby when it comes to the speed of their rotate, get access to the northwestern side of Severny, which, you know, always when you have city finishes, you want to play the edge of those cities in case he moves away. It just ended up centering on top of them, so that definitely helped them quite a bit. Though, Jason, can I have a Maxman Wants to Complain segment? Can I have like 10 seconds?
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get into our Maxman Complaints here live at PMGC 2024.
Thank you very much. RCB, hold on to your bloody nades! You don't have to use the nades if you don't know where Team Liquid are. I think that if they lost that game, it would have been because they wasted nades without any info on Team Liquid. And they could have waited maybe for the Brutes pushing and then get some really educated guesses on where the players were and then easily wrap up the game. It was close, but nades are too important, Jason, for the end. Thank you very much.
I was expecting a little bit more complaining and a little bit more trash talking, to be perfectly honest.
I could have. but no, I'll be nice today. It's fine.
Okay. Well, Mir and Sage only get themselves 7 points. That was Say Woo and was able to pull things off there. 7 elims though, massive for them considering how things were playing out, I should say, in the last match. But speaking of how things are playing out, D+ off the back of a win on Sandhawk gets themselves 0 points. Bigatron also on 0 points. And Boy Donkey on 1 point. A little bit rough here for some of these teams, but also something to keep in mind is you're not going to play these same teams, well, at least half of the teams in the lobby again tomorrow. Things are going to be changing, which means your drop locations might have to change, rotation is going to have to change, and honestly, Hot Jukes, as we talk about the top of the show, it's got to be a massive headache for any coach, analyst, and also players to keep that in mind as you go day per day, everything changing on you.
Yeah, it's the worst. That's why I was stressing on it so much at the start, because when you deal with a survival stage like this and you're dealing with two different groups, you do have to make adjustments, and that's why I'm a lot more confident in those teams that don't change at all, right? Because regardless, like Regnum Karya, they're taking Rozhawk. I mean, everyone's going to respect them there, right? And, teams like the Xavier, IW, and RX, they're not changing. So the other teams that have to, they got an even more difficult one. Now, for Team Liquid, going from North George to South George on their secondary drop isn't a big deal so much, And I think it's very fortunate that they didn't have to deal with people on that stretch for this one. And I said it, since they're in Group Green, they have to deal with playing today and tomorrow. So they're going to be stuck watching, literally on day 3, to see if anybody's going to pass them up. And for them to be able to start off so strong, I mean, that's how you got to do it.
What we can see here over on our overalls, it's going to be extremely close to the beginning. Obviously, the top of the table is semi-important, but it's really about the bottom of the table that you have to keep an eye out on here, because you do not want to be bottom 8 at the end of day 3. Obviously, we still have Group Red to come and play. That'll be starting tomorrow, and they'll finish up on the last day. But at the moment, not sure how Vampire go up from last place in 16th.
Yeah, 0.
I didn't know there was a 17th place there, but they obviously get themselves the 1 point. But Bigatron, Vampire, Stalwart, Inko, Major Pride, these are all teams we're looking at the moment of potentially being knocked out.
Yeah, right now that could be the case. Of course, it's just 2 matches in, Jason, so we'll see how it goes. But I want to take it to the first place team right now, which is D Xavier. They have 19 eliminations. They almost have twice the amount of the second place fragging teams, which are D+ Kia and Team Liquid with 12, and you also have Mir and Sejong with 13. They're putting on a clinic this game. They just start fighting everyone. Hot Jukes, D Xavier, I think, that came in with a plan compared to the group stage, where eliminations are going to be so much more important than just getting placements like they were doing in their initial group phase. So, man, so far they've been completely popping off, and I wonder if that's going to continue throughout the entire the entire survival stage.
I mean, they're just playing their game, right? The Xavier landing right there in the dead center of Pachinki. The plane path was pretty much right on top of it, so they looted up quick and were able to get moving fast. One team I feel bad for in particular in this match was Major Pride, because that plane path went right over Ferry Pier. That was their old drop spot. But now, since they switched on over to Farm, which was Team Spirit's location, instead they had to kind of find vehicles, rotate on over to Farm. There's nothing worse than having a spot you know and love and just want to drop and take loot and go. But now you got to stretch out a little bit. Your rotation's a little bit behind. Those little adjustments at this stage, Jason, man, can it throw you off your game.
I'm actually happy you bring up Major Pride, because I think if we look back at Group Yellow, they were the biggest surprise in my eyes almost through every single group max. Considering what we saw when it came to CSA in our watch parties, I did not think they would have a chance to get top 3, and yet they fell short by 6 points. I'm wondering if Major Pride can keep up that play from Yellow here into Survival.
A lot of people, Jason, on our predictions were like, "Oh, they don't know about Major Pride." I'm like, nobody knew about Major Pride before this tournament. So, if they can be the surprise again here and make it through the top 6, that would be another surprise for Major Pride.
Well, we'll see what surprise will come out of this match here as we head into our second airing guild of the day, once again with John Allen and Blaine.
It's time for round 2 here on the grassy pastures. Over from Georgia Pole, we're going on a very north-leaning plane path up towards Stalbert again, Blaine. 4MV backup drop, maybe? Could be on the cards. We'll see where that ends up going.
I don't think we've even seen a 4MV backup drop in such a long while, always going down towards Sosnovka. Even if they drop out early, get some vehicles, still down towards Sosnovka no matter what. But we'll definitely see some variation in terms of drop spots, because some areas are a little bit harder to get towards, especially over at Noya. But I think right now it is only 4MV dropping in Sosnovka towards military base.
Yeah, Yeah, without ASI8 in this lobby yet, there is no direct competition for it. It'll be interesting to see that clash when it comes on through. You see they're dropping out and potentially still looking to go for it towards the southeast side. But a lot of teams, you can see that southern front of players in the plane path dropping out those parachutes, trying to get more south than everybody else. We'll see if there is any kerfuffle around the vehicles. The Xavier may try and challenge for that east side of 4MV's position.
Yeah, pick up those vehicles nice and early. I think for 4MV, a lot of those vehicles are probably going to be gone, John. So for 4MV, a little bit of a struggle, maybe heading down towards Ferry Pier, but a nice central circle. Just lean a little bit over towards Sosnovka, though, John. So maybe heads down there in the future. We'll wait and see. Major Pride, that's we're talking about them, John, for a little while. And, you know, I think that I would agree. A lot of teams, a lot of players didn't really think that they had too much in them. We've seen this squad before under different banners, under different names, and they are good. Somewhat of a rising star team where they've never quite hit that zenith quite yet, but maybe they can do it here in the survival stage.
Always looking to try. I mean, the best place to peak is when qualification is on the line, right? So making sure that you are moving up to the top point of your performance when it matters the most. You can't complain. At the moment, the Xavier, top of the tables, 27 points. They were able to get a big elimination game in Sandhawk. They're looking to repeat that here in the secondary goal, where they were able to capitalize from that western hillside position in our last game.
I think 4MV have actually decided that, you know what, we can't do it. We actually can't go to Sosnovka. We're going to go sit in the fields.
Reefus.
Where else do they go?
Reefus, what are you he's literally burying his head in the hay. What's going on, Reefus? Come on.
We can't go to Sosnovka.
It's not that bad.
Guys, it's over. Hide in the hay bales.
I am just a horse now. I shall eat this hay. That is all I shall do with myself. Come on, Reefus.
Imagine chewing on hay because you can't go to military base. Not good. I think one of the players do find a vehicle, though, so maybe potential being able to get out of the way here. Dog running. Guys, you need an alternate drop spot, please. In they go. I do think it's only Potato inside this compound, though, at the moment. This is the north side outpost for Voin Donkey.
I wonder if the majority of 4MV actually have weapons. Apex has 2, so they've certainly got it. Yeah, Potato's just away. He's not going to try and hold this one out. They will give up a little bit of ground, certainly until backup arrives, though, from that south side. Voin Donkey looking to try and regroup towards their teammate. A spray down, Apex, he spots him, and he's turned his tail. They're back up, but they do have 3 players now for Voin Donkey ID, oversight onto this position.
They continue to run it down. Like, they're not giving up early. Going in. Zeus also sent away. Darkin sending out a shotgun shot. I don't think that's going to really repel too many players, but go for it anyway. Let's go extremely low, but can get away from this one. I think so many teams are put out by this playing path, John. No one's really having a very good time. Major Pride, though, being able to play over towards Team Spirit spot in farm. And that should be a good position going forward.
South Coast still have a nice stronghold to be able to keep a hold of that and maybe actually stagnate a couple of these rotations, force just some direct approaches, radial on the circle, straight to the center, rather than allowing the free flow of movement on that south side. Still the possibility to loop around through the military base, and I mean, 4MV, they're slowly getting closer to it. I wouldn't be surprised to see them on that military base soon.
They might head down. I mean, Voin Donkey currently still holding that area. I think I'm quite curious about how BTR is going to play out this game, because they will have to fend off from a lot of squads. And there is opportunity to take shots towards teams who are trying to find sanctuary in Sosnovka. There goes 4MV. They're finally there.
Oh, man. That's crazy that they're going there this late in the game and not like dropping Severny or something, which was completely open in this lobby. And then they go over the hills and far away.
they're in. It's just a weird one. I mean, Reefers has got no vest, no helmet. We're halfway through stage 1. I mean, sure. I guess this will not fly in PMGC Grand Finals. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh dear. I mean, what we said earlier, what Max is now pointing out, with I8 also so hell-bent on dropping towards military base no matter what, this could be a firecracker of a position, right? And 4MV, if they don't readjust around it, or if ASI8 don't readjust around it, one of them's going down for 50% of their games here, and if you're cutting out 6 of your 12 matches to being a bit of a coin flip, that could be disaster for these two teams. Fortunately, they're only going to play one of their days against each other, which means that 6 games will be against this hot drop.
Yeah, which is not going to be fun. It's really not going to be fun. So I think 4MP needs to figure something out before then, or I8 is the bigger man in this situation, and they might head to an alternate drop spot for themselves. BTR getting themselves tucked in over towards the south side, just underneath Inco, who are towards their northern edge. We're in Sejong late to the party. Though, despite Mirror and Sejong sometimes going down like towards stage 4, stage 6, we're still on 16 points. They're not having a too terrible a day here, and a lot of those points are not through placements, they're more through their eliminations, which is a positive sign, I would say, for Mirror and Sejong.
Getting stuck in, that's what you want to see. These early games in this survival stage, I think, is a little bit of a limit test phase, and we're seeing teams be more aggressive with it. Grabbing 4 or 5 eliminations on a match can be the difference between you qualifying and not. So, rolling up your sleeves and getting on with it. That is the way to go, certainly for the earlier parts of these games. Stalwart, shots over towards the Vicious. Oh, well, angles at least. Maybe not able to lace the shots through, but Fearless. He spotted a backpack. Rare's in danger. Can't quite get it through the window, though. Tags a couple of shots into it, and that's not going to get the full damage.
It's a bit of a standstill right now inside the lobby. A lot of teams just waiting for this stage 2 because it is uncertain, right? It could head down towards the south into Nokia, in which case a lot of teams do need to get a move on. Or head back up towards that north side, in which case 4B is dead.
There he goes.
That is... I guess they could play Novo. They could play Novo. They could loot up Novo right now. But there is a high likelihood that they will have to move through the Eastern Bridge. So do they wait until the end of stage 2? I think they would. I think that's the smartest decision to go. If you wait till the end of stage 2 and then wrap around from the western side, hoping the Void Donkey has left by that point, we'll see. I'm not sure how I feel playing the eastern side, and that's what they're going to do.
I wonder how aware BTR are that teams could be coming from the South Bridge. With this hard of an eastern shift, though, it may not be unexpected that teams actually go through and just rotate through that military island, not actually go out and loot there initially, right? So maybe they're a little bit more wary of it now. 77 as well. They know 4MV's tricks from the group. They'll try and hold that out as we hop on over to some of the positions that sit right in front of that bridge. A lot of teams making headway in. You've got Inco there on the northeast. You've got DX Xavier in the middle. Everybody piling on through. Major Pride, they're bringing a hovercraft with them. As slow as it may be, it's a nice block of cover. Very chunky in its presence.
It's not a bad thing to bring with you in terms of cover, at least, going in towards that end game. As we are rocking up towards, I wouldn't say it's an area that has little compounds to play. It's just an area that does have some weird sidelines in terms of high ground. There's quite a few hilltops around this area, a couple of 3 stories to play as well. The teams will be looking for those types of positions, those types of buildings. 4MV, looking to cross on the Eastern Bridge. Why is Void Donkey doing this?
Well, this is what I was talking about, right? With the possibility of teams actually going through Military Island to go for a rotate. You know, everybody's moving in from that west side, so there is a bit more of an opportunity maybe to find an opening there and get a successful crossing. It's a risk, but they might find 4MV for it.
Yeah, they might do. I think that when I was looking in terms of the circles, I was curious whether Donkey would go for a northern wrap. I mean, you could play off the back of prison potentially. I feel like it is somewhat of a death sentence right now for 4MV to be making this crossing on the Eastern Bridge. I don't know. We'll see what happens, because Donkey will absolutely annihilate them if they do head over towards their south side.
First spray down towards the beachhead, but that position's super exposed from the back, and as soon as Donkey ID get close enough, they will take those shots. They'll take them down. Out to the east side, so everybody in the west further condensed now. Miriam Sejong with that spread out towards the Milta Peninsula. Really, really powerful in that hold.
77. Shifu sending nades over the top. That looks pretty good over towards Doc, actually. Does lay him very low. Question is, how many more nades does Shifu has? 2 more to work with. Has a good general idea of where 4MV is. Especially Doc. And the circle heads down towards southeast, John. Real cruel circle. Mirren Sejong's made a good wrap, as I was saying, on that northern side, and been able to head over towards Milta at least. That's a strong position from them going forward.
Yeah, Mirren Sejong is probably the best of it here. Zeus at their back may challenge that. 4MV's fight with 77 on this bridge mouth is in the next circle blank, but Donkey ID are now going to have to move through it, which means that 4MV, if they're not aware of this, will just get barreled down. The question for me, though, is do Donkey ID actually want to stop, or do they want to just try and get through that fight and not engage with it whatsoever, because they need to get into the circle?
Yeah, they could just fly on through. That might be a decision to make, but actually having this circle shift down towards the south side actually makes things so much more difficult for our teams that need to cross the bridge, because it means that a lot of our teams can stick around in these areas, continue to hold out squads. Like 77, their position becomes even more safe over on the western side, cutting out a lot of those sight lines over towards the east, John.
Spray down from Nolbu. Does get caught, but not taken out just yet. Hits the deck just in time. Felt like that was just a little bit lucky on the dodge, but the nade and the shots find chips as well on the off angle. D plus Kia losing another. There is a trade-off from Fabian to try and keep them in this one, but D plus Kia now down to 1 player alive. Nades flying over his way, and vehicles as well. Critter moving on through, trying to get that scouting done. Another one up on high, not quite fully on target there. Fabian launches one in response. Doesn't quite get the knock or the flush, but does slow down that approach. First aid available. They're going for the res instead. Team Liquid, they rock up onto the back line of third party, onto the high ground on the north side. Stalwart getting moved aside, but Mythic is down. That may slow Team Liquid enough to find Stalwart's reses.
Team Liquid, they're not too unhappy with this either, because they know that they've breached an area right now. Let's continue to push in. I think the main difficulty right now is for D plus Kia. Can they extract any value out of this with the 2 players they still have left on site? Currently in 3rd place on the rankings with 22 points. It's not bad, but you sort of want maybe 1 to 4 eliminations on this game with the 2 players you have remaining in this area. There's definitely a chance for it. D plus Kia head out on the outside. Now Stalwart's actually going down. 1 player underneath for them. Fearless trying to make this happen. Sanshir goes down. He's incredibly low, and he will be taken out by Team Liquid. Did D plus Kia get any more points off of that? Just the 2. Just the 2.
Team Liquid got 2 as well on that one, so not great, but they stay up as 4, which is brilliant news. Donkey, they went for a swim, or actually on some vehicles, either a hovercraft or a boat, across the water. They are now on that Milta Peninsula cliff face, so they'll try and make their way on up, which means that there is no backstop to that fight for 4MV now, so that position changes back to 4MV just trying to push in, as if there was no team behind them. However, they have lost a player. It is not Doc, though, so he is still in, but they're on 3 either way.
It is astounding to me that they have survived so long on this south side. I don't quite know how they've done it, but it's been incredibly passive. Next target will be DX Xavier towards their northeast. Really unfun circle, I would say, especially with the big amount of field towards the center of this one, John. A lot of teams having to play on the outer edge, and it's mainly Milta that is becoming a real hot spot for a lot of our squads.
Yeah, a lot of teams on the inside of the urban environment, those fields out to the east. Max is going crazy. He's like, oh, they're playable now. Let's go. New mill to finish. And he's going to be breaking this one down, I'm sure. So pay attention to the death segment after this one if you want to find out how the pros are playing this area. 77 sweeping on the north and actually finding a little leg on Team Liquid. To find that first opener. Cardozo from the low ground wants to stop 77 from sweeping, but easier said than done. They continue to move on up to this high ground, and Cardozo will be fairly exposed pretty soon. As soon as 77 get up towards that high ground area, he's taking some bold shots here, but they do manage to find that answer over towards Shifu and Sadira as well as the Vicious chime in.
I think with Team Liquid, they have to take bold shots out this way. Realistically, their position is a little bit shaky. So for them to be able to take down 77s as they come in, they can start to look a little bit further down towards their south side, not have to worry too much about their north. That would be the ideal scenario because there is still going to be teams making those northern wraps going forward. 4MV starting to push on out now versus BTR. Apex got dropped out the vehicle straight away. Good step up from one of the players, but is it too little too late as Doc goes down to 1 HP?
Doc with the nade, doesn't care that he's only on 1 HP, knows that he just needs to win these trades time after time. Zuxi, nade from the back line, Molotov the reposition, and again, Doc cooks the nade, but the shotgun's there, and there's the roll-up we feared. There's the roll-up we were delivered. 4MV finally cut out of the game.
The fact that he was still priming nades whilst on 1 HP is somewhat interesting. I wasn't expecting that one coming through from Doc. Could have maybe gone for the first aid kit, but I guess he was just looking for a chunky nade to come on through. Xavier, Vampire, all in the same location. This lineup off towards the western side of Milta. A very, very fun ending indeed that we're going to be seeing here. The craters over on the field on that eastern side going to provide a little bit of cover towards these teams. Mirror and Sejong actually picking up that spot. One of the few teams to do it. Again, Mirror and Sejong, one of the few teams that I can confidently say knows every single map like the back of their hand.
Going straight on top of Milta though. Vampire tried to get that crash into the west side of Milta. Major Pride got one. I think it was Xavier who got another, and now they've lost all of their players. Eliminated. A difficult crash to make, and not too many options for Vampire, but that is unfortunate that they are now down again low on the tables. They've only got 2 points total. It is not a good start for them.
Zeus off towards that east as well, John. Struggles bust position. They'll have to push on in. Mirror and Sejong decides, with that shift over towards that western side that you were talking about, that they're going to move over towards the buildings, set on the eastern edge. There is a little bit of staging in terms of the high grounds we set over towards the north side. Currently, I think Major Pride controls those warehouses, which are a strong spot to play in, actually, going forward. Curious to see how a lot of our teams on the north will play this one out. Limbo Boom goes down. That's the play zone. Liquid will move on with three eliminations in the bag.
The conversation of the northern sweeps right now between 77 moving up, taking a Team Liquid player down. Now Team Liquid again flexing out, taking some of 77 down, but there's still more threats abroad as Zeus start to move up into these hills on the north side as well. Will they be able to sweep through this as effectively as they maybe have denied 77 and Team Liquid the opportunity to be? Magnum straight down towards Zeus. Zeus on 3 players alive, but they cut through the last of 77. Magnum will be felled. 1 elimination for Zeus, so they do get a little bit of control. Downhill, still necessary for the next maneuver.
The Vicious up against Major Pride. Starts out well. David moves into the building. Becca's down. Elementary goes next. 3 players still up for the Vicious and Major Pride, with 1 player left remaining. And nowhere near close by. Nate goes in from Evo Station. Elementrix might be able to be picked up here, John.
I think they could get this res. It depends on what the aggression set comes on through from the Vicious, but they're going for reses as well. Zeus crash into the north side, have made landfall, but Darkin is spotted. Luke's able to get that shot. They retreat away from it though, so not confirming onto this flush just yet. Instead, priming the nade. That should do the trick, but Eren may be a little bit more concerning for them. A nice nade from Maniac, but it's immediately answered by Neil, leaving 1 player alive for Eren on this crash. Zeus with the one player. Loops on 4. It's a tall order, and it won't make the money. Zeus out, 10th place.
It was always going to be a tough time for Zeus. The fact they were even able to make this crash over towards Loops was pretty awesome in the first place. The Vicious, though, with a very good spot. Being able to take that off the hands of Major Pride, considering the Vicious were on the outside edge, that's really good stuff from them. Currently sits them in 7th place. Things are going to slow down going into stage 6. Again, another urban finish, which is very unlikely, considering the amount of times we have not seen urban finishes over the group stage into a back-to-back here in the survival stage. It truly is a test for a lot of our squads to get to last chance.
I'm liking it, but it is hellish for them. And big elimination counts can start to get racked up in situations like these. And once more, it's DXavier who, again, have a position on an off angle and they're looking to pressure in from the edge. But they have 5 limbs already blank, and the top of the tables is looking good. We were saying it only takes 3 or 4 good games to see you safe into the top 16, right? And DXavier, they started off with 2. They're looking to put up a 3rd.
Void Donkey down towards the southeast side, right on the edge. Like you so say though, DXavier actually pushing in from this western side with 5 eliminations. They're feeling very strong going into this tournament so far. It was a hard circle for them last time here on our angle. They're looking for another difficult crossing again, but doing it with style. And with 5 eliminations, all players on full HP, looking for some decent shots. Levi's now peeking the angle. David thinks better of holding on to that one. Understand the play zone likely going to be the thing that causes the most problems to DXavier going forward.
DXavier have now managed to crunch in all 4 players into one building instead of having that wide sweeping hold on the west edge. So playing together now, they're going to have to move along the south side of the road, most likely. Crossing the road in Milta is a death sentence, Blank. So we have 2 separate games going on right now.
Pretty much. All over the place. Mirror and Sejong do take a knock, but I don't think that that is unlikely to be res back up again. But Mirror and Sejong over on this eastern side, and they're pleased about this eastern shift on the circle as well. But a massive amount of fighting about to break out over on this western edge. Loops has a forward vanguard here. Scouting out, pulling out the binoculars, looking at what's going down. DXavier being harassed by all sides now.
Probably the most dynamic part of this circle, right? The only team that needs to push forwards, and they will move into BTR. Look at all the smoke cover they have. So Tyler on an off angle needs to be dealt with, and down they go. 2 players sent in to deal with the off angle. They get away scot-free, and the roll-up as well is working on the forefront. Levi's does go down, unfortunately, but 3 players still alive for DXavier. They can continue to move through BTR. With a knockover, they launch the nades to try and flush, finding not too much damage actually, and the long-range nade goes on in, catches Lapart. Brilliant find there. BTR now just 1 player alive. The blue zone's pushing. They can get this res. Just Suxy remains for BTR to hold out on the southwest side of Milta, but he's got the nade. Looking to put it over towards DXavier. Is it going to connect? Looks like it's on target, but doesn't quite get the knock or the flush. Parachin steps up, and Suxy has to fall back yet again. No more nades in the pocket.
Suxy looking to get it done here for BTR. Rest of C-Man suffered. He's going to back off. DXavier's still in the fight though, John. I don't know how they're doing this. Up to 7 elims already. They've had a real tough approach to this circle. They were able to isolate a lot of their fighting down towards the south side though, and I think that was the smartest choice that they made here. Good scouting from that team. Loops, who have been on their bellies, snaking their way in. Oh, come on. Don't hit those shots.
2 players, 4 Major Pride playing off the boxes. It's up to Elementrix now. The weapon swap, the Scar can't quite connect, and 2 reses possible for the Vicious, but 10 seconds on the circle. They need to be fast. They're prioritizing the first days. I feel like that might be a misplay there, but they should have enough time just about to get these players back up. It's stage 7, 8 teams remain.
Stage 7, 8 teams still being up is remarkable. by all standards here. Again, that's what urban finishes will do for you. So we move further towards that eastern side. So a big chance now for Mirren Sejong. A team that had it all going for them in their group, only for it to come all crashing down over the last few days. Now is a good opportunity to pull those point scorings up. They fire the nade over towards Team Liquid, but it's the Vicious versus BTR. Zuxi somehow still alive on the balcony as the Vicious make their way through. The fight against Xavier. BTR have Zuxi just as an onlooker.
The wall still stands somehow on this building, but Zuxi out the balcony has been spotted from an off angle, has to wage into the fight, but 2 players from the Vicious are down. He could do real damage here. Dimmador is low, and Reyes is down on the back line. Zuxi stays alive just a little bit longer, but Xavier will win out the fight. However, there is still so many more teams in their way that they have to try and push aside, but the muscles are starting to tire now. Xavier, 8 elims and just Paragon remains. He'll fall down. And with a bombastic blast out on the southwest side of Milter, 3 teams fall.
There's just nothing left in the tank there at that point for Xavier. Fair play to Zuxi though, who's like, look, I'm going down regardless, so I'm just going to try and set this to the limit. Actually gets a fair few eliminations off the back of that one as well. Mirren Sejong taking nades for themselves and Team Liquid playing over on that northern side. There were some nades sent their way from Mirren Sejong. A couple of knocks, but no eliminations found so far for Mirren Sejong, despite their good positioning inside the circle.
We were talking about the dynamics of this lobby, right? A lot of teams looking more for that elimination focus. If you can extract value from placements when everybody else is more bloodthirsty than you are, there is still some value in that, but that will be noticed. Teams will take advantage of that in due course, so we'll see if they can start to leverage now, because we are into stage 8. There are still quite a few eliminations left on the board for them to try and pick up.
Team Liquid likely to be the next to fall. Southeast shift on the circle here, John, does provide Team Mirren Sejong with a lot of advantage. Team Liquid, though, struggling on the outer edges, but still top 5 finish. Not bad for them, considering they're playing in through from the fields. Now, they need to pick these ones up. Can't let them go to other teams, other squads.
Definitely a worse result for them, but they are starting to add to their tally now. Loops on that northern side. I mean, moving Nino out, I've still really questioned that maneuver for them. They sent him over to the beachhead instead of keeping him with the rest of the team. Having 4 players on this position would be so much better for them, but now they've lost another and they're down to 2 on that northwest side. Loops going to struggle here, but RCB potentially in for another good game if they can sweep this south side clear of Void Donkey ID.
Yeah, RCB coming just off the back of 1 urban chicken dinner, looking for a second potentially. Seiwu steps up. Maybe another elimination stolen away from Mirren Sejong, despite finding the good shots through. Only 1 elimination found. Final. Looking for the 2 players here from Loops. Nades going in. We'll find Vitin, just Rafina left now.
Sejong moving forwards. This should be the second elim. If they can find the chicken dinner, it'll be 12, 13, 14 points in that sort of bracket. Would still be a good result. They managed to put an 8-point average up in the first 2 matches. So we'll see if they can keep this one going. They've already guaranteed quite a few placement points and a decent result. Rafinha around the side for Loops, looks to do damage to Mirren Sejong. DPS keeping him suppressed. They know he's only got that corner to play around with. From the south side of the road, though, the light up comes on through, and it's RCB with 11 eliminations. Far more bloodthirsty than Mirren Sejong, the team to try and take them down. And it may be from north to south, from Saverdi to Milter, the Turkey starts to make their ascension.
I just don't understand the play there from Mirren Sejong. Expose you back like that to RCB, it felt like a huge mistake. Like, they had strong buildings to play against versus RCB into the future. They don't find a lot of value off the back of that. Now it's just Seiwu and RCB looking to take this game home.
Ooh, nice knock from Seiwu though, and there's smoke cover to go across. We'll see if there's damage to be done, but no, RCB unwrapped Milter. And a gift for them on the south side. There is nowhere that these guys cannot make it work.
The commander tosses the phone to the ground. It's as easy as that for them, and RCB picks themselves up the back-to-back here on Erangel. 2 urban finishes, and these guys are the Urban Warriors on the road.
I think Urban Warriors is definitely the proper name to be given. Regnum Karya Bros, they take 2 wins back-to-back in city finishes. Well done by them, but let's be honest, guys, and I heard Max. I even have to have my headphones on to hear him screaming about Mirren Sejong and that push onto loops.
No, the cast have echoed it at the end of that game, but really, why were you so committed on eliminating Rafina? Like, from Luke's, I get it was a little bit of an issue, Hodrix, but sending 2 players were initially behind the wall. They were safe from RCB. A little bit, literally 2-3 meters too far. You make yourself vulnerable, 2 players instantly knocked. Initially by a spray, then by a follow-up grenade. If they don't do that, maybe because of the smokes they can win the game, but yeah, I don't think Rafina was worth losing 2 players for Hodrix. It was not worth it.
It's that tunnel vision, baby. You know what I'm saying? You just have an elimination. You know it's there. You gotta get it. You know, and it's a tough situation because, you know, it sucks whenever you're at this stage and you see so many teams not make it by 1 single point. You know what I'm talking about, Max, right? So, like, at a certain point, if you're MSJ, you see that free elimination, you bite it off, but it just turns out that, you know, Silas and squad is just waiting for you. I love watching Silas just throw that phone down, like, be like, back-to-back chicken dinners, baby, we got this. I love it.
That wasn't an Infix G220 Pro, it probably would have shattered, so smart by him to know that. But yo, Max, you talked about at the top of the show, you want to see more out of Wild and Loxy, and guess what? You're getting it.
I can't take credit. Like, Blank is the first one to have brought it up eventually.
It was you.
No, I think it was Kalaris.
No, it was Kalaris.
Yeah, it's Kalaris. Yeah, thank you, Kalaris. No, but it's so good to finally see Wild and Loxy in that fragging role. Of course, Kimiz has been a great support player, Jason. He's been great with that utility, the off angles, especially on the first angle today over in Severny, while Silas is just eye-gelling the team moving around. But Wild, 7 elimination, great conversion from that almost 900 damage. And I would have to say the most important fight this game, Hodges, that we've seen from RCB was very clearly when you had that skirmish to the west of the city. I think you had Geek Xavier, you had BTR, and you had a push or so from the Vicious. They're all fighting, hoping to survive. And you just have RCB waiting. We'll just pick up whoever survives. And we just get full Southern control off the back of that. That was the clutch play that allowed RCB to compete for that win.
They're just like, come on in. They just let the welcome mat off and then pulled it right out from under them there. It was beautifully done from RCB. Another team, though, I kind of want to talk about who had a good, solid rotation was Boyne's Donkey, dude. Honestly, that was so crazy to watch them go all the way down that bridge, following behind 4MV and sneak their way into Milton. It worked out pretty good, man.
Actually, I agree, but also don't agree, Hodges. I think that maybe staying on the mainland would have been an easier time for them, because if you have to cross that bridge or like the water is always going to be somewhat risky, especially if it goes hard north. If Milton's not in play, avoid not out completely. But that's true. The moment they decide to go to Somnovka Island, I think they did the better play, Hodges, which is to try and rotate and avoid the bridge, which is not what Fuenvi did. So they're just like, oh, Fuenvi did not do the best rotation to escape Military Island. Let's just do it ourselves. Yeah, and it worked out.
I mean, we talked multiple times about like the way the zone shift and trying to play around that. Because it kept shifting east, you knew there'd be a grouping of teams towards the west. So I kind of agree with you there, Max. Like going towards east side with the rotate ends up helping them drastically to get into the later stages of the game. And you guys were talking about how Boyd definitely one of the best improved teams across the group stage when it came to them individually.
With RCB, I would say Hodrix right now, especially when looking just at Group Green, but even all the groups, RCB and Boyd Donkey ID for me are the 2 most improved teams from the first half of their group to the second half of their group, and it's been so far looking like that is just the case now. They're just able to maintain that momentum going into the survival stage, and from what we're seeing, Hodrix, I think that's going to keep going, because it seems like it's not even forced, it's just a natural kind of playstyle they are getting used to after that initial group stage.
Yep, they're adapting, baby. They are adapting for sure. As we take a look at the match rankings here, yeah, look at that, 24 points. These guys are setting themselves up to be rock solid. I mean, all they got to do is make sure they're not in the bottom 8 of this situation. Sure, we have another group playing tomorrow, but back-to-back chicken dinners here, they definitely got to be feeling comfortable.
They gotta chill,
still,
man. Save some of these for last chance where you gotta be top 6. Like, don't use all your wins right now.
That's true.
City finishes too. Like, what is going on? There's 2 cities.
You know what? RCB, 3rd place in this game, right? Why not? Just slow it down a little bit, put some points on the board, yeah, and save some of those chickens.
It's like The Incredibles, right? Towards the end, when the kid's like racing and his team's telling him, or his family's telling him to slow down, let someone else, catch up. But D. Xavier again, 8 elims, 10 points, 2 placement points. It seems like D. Xavier just taking a page out of IHG's book from last year.
No, they just listen to you, Jason, say, oh, no SEA teams in finals. They're like, let me cook. We'll make him, don't worry. I don't know what happened with D. Xavier compared to the group stage. They just turned on the fragging machine they have on their squad, and they're just engaging so many squads. And also, the fact is, when they take the fights, they are good engagers with utility, getting some solid angles, and just completely destroying teams. Of course, it didn't work out at the end because I think there was too much jukes happening at once. You had 3 teams fighting them at once, so you are going to falter eventually. But yeah, D. Xavier, if they keep getting these kind of points, it's an easy access into last chance, and if they can even survive a bit longer in the game, maybe enough to be top 6.
So that's one of the advantages and disadvantages to playing in the first week, right? They played in our initial group of Group Yellow, means you have 2 weeks off, typically like 3 weeks off until you play again. So you have time to really refine your gameplay, really look at how the other teams are playing. Whereas if you're in Group Green, you only had 2 days off and you're back into the mix here. As we take a look at our overalls, so RCB going to be rocking the #1 position, but only by 9 points, even though they do have 2 chicken dinners, which I think is a testament to how well D. Xavier's been playing still.
Man, D. Xavier is just crushing it. Not to mention, D. Xavier is in Group Yellow, so they'll have some time to be able to know exactly how many points they need to make it into the next stage. They're big chillin'. And Karia, they're in Group Green, right? So they're doing exactly what they need to do here, Max, because they have today and tomorrow, and then they're just going to be sit back and watching, hoping that the points that they made are going to be enough to hold on here. Oh,
what?
But
Vampire?
Look at the... I mean, that's what just is like a stab in the stomach, dude. What is going on with this team? Ooh.
I kind of want to analyze Vampire, but Jason, the thing is, I haven't survived even long enough in these games. I feel like I can't really even say anything about their games, but yeah, 2 points over the course of 3 matches. Vampire, currently, I mean, definitely the biggest upset in survival stage. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't remember if I put them in my top teams to qualify in our predictions video that we did, Matt. You can check over at @Pandemonium_news. Maybe I should kind of go back and revamp it because it's not looking too good here for this team. But also, I mean, 4MV, I don't want to be too critical because it's only been 3 matches so far. But you almost have to start being critical of some of these teams, especially like you mentioned, Hot Jukes. If you're a team from Group Green, knowing that you have today and tomorrow to play, and then your fate is going to be decided on how Yellow and Red play out their matches.
Yeah, I mean, you got to really, really get it going here. Team Liquid's another one of those teams. Boy Donkey's another one of those teams in Group Green. 4MV as well. And 4MV, I mean, we're seeing the same mistakes we've seen before, and that's what I think is really, really crushing me, because I think that we're noticing some big changes from a lot of these squads here. You can tell the people who've done their homework, and 4MV are like, nah, dude, you know what? Doc's going to go solo. We don't have a secondary drop location, right? We're just going to make it happen no matter what. And look at what's happening.
Yeah. I think the Castles also talked about it. When IA joins the fray, also, that is going to be a tough time for those groups.
That's a good point. Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, we do have to head to a short break when we get things ready to go for the second half of the day. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
Whispers of the silent wind, softest dreams in twilight storm silent violet soldiers in their fight.
A lot of momentum is currently being carried by this man in his squad next to me. It's none other than Silas and Regnum Karyabra. You guys are being able to carry that momentum from the last day of your group stage. How are you guys feeling?
Valla grup aşamasındaki ilerlemesinizi bu survival'a kadar getirdiniz. Şu an takımınız nasıl hissediyor?
Vallahi şu an mükemmel hissediyoruz. Her yere vurup geçiyoruz yani. Çok iyiyiz şu an.
We feeling really good. We see we should when we kill. And we feel really great for this day.
He's trying not to smile too much, okay? He knows that back-to-back wins, that's definitely going to secure even more the chance of you to make your last chance. Now, this last win in Erangel, I feel like for you it was a little bit easier. You guys were able to rotate early on. You were able to hold that compound. But I want to go back to the first Erangel win. Walk me through what was going through your guys' mind there at the end.
Valla şimdi bu üçüncü maçta Erengel'de rotasyon tuttunuz, kompanyon tuttunuz, nasıl yaptınız ama ilk Erengel'de yani bu ikinci maçta nasıl biraz zorluk yaşadınız? Anlatabilirsiniz zorlukları.
Birinci alanda bizi çok zorladılar. İkinci alanda kalmayı tercih ettik. Üçüncü alanda da çoğu oyuncunun tecrübe edemediği yerlere gittik. Oradan da önümüze fırsat çıktı. Onu değerlendirdik. İlk alan çok zorlandık.
The first zone was quite hard.
İkinci alan yerimize kalmayı tercih ettik.
In the second zone we stay put in our location.
Üçüncü alan hareket oyuncuların tecrübe edemediği yerlere
The zone was a bit hard for us because it is not our use rotation.
Yani diğer alanlarda zaten önümüze fırsat çıktı.
And then for after that the zone was we got the opportunity and we took the opportunity.
Right on. Well, hey, now before I let you go, with the mix-up here that happens between the groups at survival stage, what team do you think might cause you some trouble?
Hangi takım bu size zorluk çıkarabilecek yani?
Bence Vampire ve DX'in çok güçlü takım olduğunu düşünüyorum ikisinde. İkisi de bize zorluk çıkaracaktır.
I'm thinking the Vampire and DX, one of the strongest team that we have a lot of trouble with them.
All right, well, you guys have been fighting Vampire a lot today. Thank you so much, Silas. Can't wait to see what this team's going to be doing for the next 3 matches. Back to you guys.
Quite interesting that Vampire is the team being called out by Silas there, considering at the bottom of the table. Maybe it's because Rick Kari is just mowing them down every single time.
I think it was a little bit of a meme. I'm not gonna lie, dude. What is going on with Vampire? I mean, this is ridiculous for them to be this low so far. I mean, they're a third of the way. through their group and all their matches, they got to start playing this like it's the PMGZ Grand Finals on steroids at this point.
Sorry, I just pulled a max there and I had to calculate in my head if this actually was a third. I swear, Max, it is becoming harder to do
quarter plus. You know?
But yeah, obviously, talking about Xavier, I feel like that seems to be pretty legit considering how Xavier have been playing, just very heavy limb focused and really starting to pop off and look like the Xavier we saw last year, Max.
Yeah, this is definitely way closer to that. I like especially what Paradine is doing. I think Paradine has been very important in the fights that Xavier are tending to initiate, and his angles are just very, very important for them to win those engages. So, yeah, I mean, Xavier, I feel like they just have these moments, Jason, where at some point in the year they just start popping off in PMGC and they always are in the conversation for like a top 4 position in the finals for recent memory at least. And as of right now, Xavier, if they keep again getting these kind of limbs every game, they're cruising for top 6. I'm just saying, but as we know, when we get to last chance, Jason, it's going to be a bit more complicated to get that consistent limbs every match.
Okay, well, okay, 7, yeah. Oh, really? So 7 actually just reported to me that Peregrine actually gives a big thanks to their success today was the Infinix GT20 Pro. They learned to play like the pros here with his 120 FPS and 144 hertz AMOLED screen. You know, it's funny, Max. It should be him strumming a guitar, though the way he does it, I don't think he's ever held a guitar in his hands his entire life, considering a guitar is probably the same size as him if you put it from ground standing up.
A guitar for him is a bass.
No, it's a ukulele. That's what a guitar is for him. We'll take a look here at our teams to focus. And for me, I more went towards some teams who are going to be playing back-to-back today and tomorrow who need to really have a glow up here. And of course, Major Pride I added in because they have been a little bit of a letdown considering the pace they set back in the first group.
Yeah, Major Pride's on my list too because, I mean, they are dropping now in farm. That should be a dominant location, especially when we have a mill to finish. They get a really solid position, but then the Vicious just rolls up to them and just straight picks them apart here. So, I mean, they got to start winning these fights, Max. I mean, to lose against a team like Vicious when you have a spot like they did, it's got to hurt.
It's rough, and especially it was a really successful push coming out initially from Vicious. They're able to just claim control of the northern side of Milta and start sweeping, and Major Pride. Unfortunately, Jason, looking back at the group stage, and I think because we covered CSA, we were like, oh wow, this is actually popping off. This is not what we expected after CSA. I would have been really impressed if they were able to maintain the kind of results going into this stage, but this is maybe a little bit more aligned with my initial expectations, which I know is rough. I know they did great in the groups, but unfortunately I'm not too shocked, but there's always still room for comeback. There's only 3 matches in, there's still a bit of time.
I think it reminds me of, like, was it chat back when we did PMGC group stage last year, and they're like, oh, they don't know about 4MV, just wait, you'll see what 4MV has to offer. It's kind of similar with Major Pride from chat, but it's like this time, no, we saw Major Pride throughout the whole year, and they were not a good-looking team. Then flash forward here into Group Yellow, and I was amazed to see their pop-up performance, but I completely agree with you. Like, to maintain that level of play here, if they were able to do so, I would definitely push them to be like, this team always plays better at internationals or global events versus local play. But they're not the only team we have to focus on here, Hot Jukes, because, again, like 4MV, they are starting to have a struggle here in our first day of play with a third of the matches now done. But there's a lot of other teams out there that we have to keep an eye on. I mean, Stalwart, Zeus, BTR, Loops is ahead of BTR in the 9th place with 16 points, so it's a little bit of a gap there of 7 points. But I don't know if I should be so harsh considering we're only 3 matches in. I don't know how you feel about this.
We have to be harsh. I mean, yeah, 3 matches in is I just redid the math. Yeah, it's a quarter of the way through. The next game will be a third. Okay, so once that's how short we have. I mean, it's just 12 matches here, guys. So like every single game lost, I do the excuse card for game number 1. But this is in group stage where you got days to be able to play against each other. You got to get it done right here, right now. So I mean, for 4MV, Major Pride, everybody on the second page, I mean, you got to start crushing it quickly here, Max.
It's not a lot of matches, Hodrix. Like, so far, as you said, as you properly calculated, we are a quarter of the way through for some of these teams. When you're done for today, if you had a bad first day in the survival stage, your chances of making it through is going to be tough, because I can tell you the teams from the other group that are yet to play, they're going to come in swinging, and they're going to know what the kind of play style they have to take is going to be, because they know what the cutoff point is going to be at that point. So I'm telling you, if you played especially your 2 first days and you had a bad time in the first Thursday, you are going to be stressed as hell.
You go from group stage where you're playing 4 days of games to try to get top 3 or top 11 to go into playing 2 days to being top 16 out of 24 to go into 2 days to being top 6. Like, it is insanely hard to go through survival and last chance. And these teams, if they really want to make it into London, if they really want to make it into the grand finals to be the best team in the world, they got to start showing up right here, right now, and maintain the momentum over the next days. Speaking of momentum, 2 men who never shy away from momentum and continue things going along here as we head into our last airing of the day. It's John Allen and Blake.
The ball just keeps rolling, that's right. We conserve momentum, much like the rules of the universe. It will continue to be the rule of the universe that momentum is going to keep our teams at the top. At the moment, Group Green vastly outpacing Group Yellow and coming off of their weak, strong. Hopefully, they will be able, well, if you're a fan of the Group Green teams, that is, hopefully they'll be able to keep that one going. At the moment, Group Green total is ahead 48 points over Group Yellow.
And this is what we're talking about in terms of being fresh going into your final stage here in survival, right? You know, you've just come off the back of some games just last week, so you're feeling fairly strong. A lot of our squads kind of figured things out in Group Green, I would say, towards the ending of their group. Whereas Group Yellow, it's been a while. It has been a while.
Have taken a little bit of a breather, so hopefully they will be able to repair. Ooh, late drop for Inco. Are they going to go and challenge 4MV on the military base in the south side, or are they going to go over towards Novo? I think it's more likely they are just going to go out to that east side of the military island. Don't really want to get stuck in with 4MV. You know what they're like? Rabble rousers on the Sosnovka military base. Ooh, unfortunate little roll down there. Right back around. Zeus lose a player. And a nice little pickup coming on through. I think that was DX Xavier who were able to pick that one up. I think, yeah, they managed to get an early point again. DX Xavier keeping themselves towards the top of the tables, nice and tidy over the last few games.
Yeah, they're pushing things even harder now, and I think the DX Xavier, they've done very, very well. First place is RCP, though, with 46 points, and another Elim potentially going through. On a sort of completely separate team. They are taking shots towards Zeus and now Void Donkey. So both squads down to 3 players early on at the hands of DX Xavier, who are really striking out towards the top of the tables here, John.
And as we said before, right, it's about having 3, 4, 5 really good games. It will just see you straight into that last chance stage. The Xavier RCB, they've both kicked off with 3 good games, right? Getting 37 points, now up to 39 points on 4 matches. Getting a 10-point average in general is phenomenal. But in general, you're only looking for 16th place, right? Out of a field of what is it, 24 teams, right? So you definitely don't need to be getting up to 10 points a match, which reduces that boundary. Getting over 50 points today would be monumental and may, on its own, be enough to see you safe.
For RCB, it's a case of, you know, they get maybe 5 elims for the rest of the day. They've had a fantastic day one, and even if they just come into tomorrow and get 80, 90 points, that's probably going to see them more than safe towards the top 16, which is somewhat surprising to think about. But I don't think RCB is going to stop here. If they can qualify on day one, or at least as close to as possible, that's just going to make your life so much easier going into the rest of the stage here in survival. 4MV, though, currently sat in 12th place, 8 points. Fair few of our teams have tried to get things done, unable to quite work the issue, though, with Vampires being on 2 points. I think the boys on the desk will point this out as well, which is not a good position to be in for Vampires. I would like to see a step up from them because, honestly, in the past, they used to be the undisputed champs, right? They were strong. Even in PMGC, they would bring things up. Over PMWC, that was their stomping grounds. It was taken away by Alpha 7. I don't even think they even really had a chance over PMWC in the first place. So I think for Vampires, there needs to be a step up now because they are a strong team. They are a very, very good team. They often perform quite late, though. And this is about as late as you can leave it.
Yeah, I mean, we say the same, or have said the same about teams like Team Spirit in the past, and to this tournament, they just found their footing, and they had an awful day one in their group, it has to be said, but they absolutely just came back storming and they sped up very, very quickly, which is an excellent fix to be applied to them. Vampire, they don't even have a day to do that, right? So they absolutely need to be moving as fast as possible. Limboman doesn't quite make the full launch up to the rooftop there, but with only one player on the inside of the building, you've got to wonder if he can hold off, and Magnum sees to it that he can't. Vicious losing a player on the Heaven compound.
A lot of single elims going out early on in the groups. Dimonor, really good player, but instantly sat down by Zadira. Finally, we get some strength coming from Zadira as well. Long shot on the UMP. Not an easy one to hit with, especially on the headshot from that distance, but well played. But yeah, for Zadira, he hasn't had the greatest of times. It has been Shifu propping up the ship. And it's kind of interesting to look at because during PMSL EMEA, it was pretty much Zadira all day, every day for that squad. But nice to see that, you know, they always have that member in the backlines of Shifu who can bring out a good performance no matter what. Right now, for 77, currently stands 6th place with 17 points. All in all, not been too terrible. I think that with DXA and RCB sort of reigning on top right now in 1st and 2nd place, it has been hard to catch up to them.
Some excellent early games. I mean, DXavier doing it without getting those chicken dinners, I think for me, whilst it's impressive that RCB have been able to do it, for me, DXavier's performance is almost more impressive here to be able to achieve that, not being necessarily into those late games, getting 2 points early on this match as well. A good sign for them, although that's less to do with skill and more about winning those early drops. And, well, you have to be skillful there, don't get me wrong, but it's not that macro style that's profited them so well over these first 3 matches that we've seen from them. Everybody trying to rotate in, again, fairly parallel. Find a little slice of this next circle to the southeast side of the Yaz Fields. It's really, really tricky to move, though, and RCB looking to try and control from the west side this time.
Now, RCB actually not in a bad spot on the western edge. Pretty happily play from there for going forward. Loops over on our north side start to make their way in. They are heading slightly past BTR, who haven't really taken too many shots over towards them, so Loop should be able to make a crossing inwards. 16 points for them in 9th place. That is sort of where our boundary is right now. The middle pack sitting around 17, 16. Head up towards that top side, you've got 25 points apiece for Team Liquid, D+, and Mirren Sejong. And everyone else is really scrapping for some points just at the bottom of the lobby because they just have not been coming to them. And that is typical of urban finishes where the majority of points do go to one team.
Yeah, 1 or 2 of those teams in those final segments of the circle. Obviously, that roadside splitting the game last time around in Milta. So a really, really tricky finish. 2 teams majorly profiting off of that. Mirren Sejong not really getting a lot of those elims. Those were taken away by the teams around them. You would have expected them to be able to get a lot more out of that game, but it was RCB who completely dominated the south edge. And you may have expected a little bit more profit, but still, good results. And it is, again, about making top 16 here, which can definitely play into the playstyle that teams will be bringing to the table.
Again, odd game from Mirren Sejong on that last one. I mean, we mentioned it, so the desk is just, why would you show your back to RCB in those final moments? All for 1 elim onto Rafinha. A real odd one. And not what I expect from Mirren Sejong, because usually they're very cool in terms of the squad, very calculating. In that moment, it felt like they just threw caution to the wind at a critical stage in the game as well, no less. Unfortunate, to say the least. Eastern shift on the circle. It's nice to see more of the eastern side of the map. I think we've been mainly looking at the west and the southwest for the majority of the PMGC stages, so it's good to see, you know, more of Yaz, more of Milta. A little bit different.
We've had our fair share of the shooting range hills as well over on the north side, but you're right, the east coast has been neglected so far by the circles. It seems like we're getting our dose here in survival stage, so let's see that one come back on through. I will say, I feel like, just going back to make Mirren Sejong feel even worse about themselves, I feel like the call may have come through. It felt like a call came through, we need to prioritize eliminations now, right? In the midst of it all, they realized, okay, we're very low on our tally, let's prior getting eliminations. They saw one that they could get, and they were like, the call's been made, so we're doing that, right? Whereas, in general, it's more profitable, it's difficult to make work, but oh dear, RCB maybe going down for their first poor performance of the tournament in the survival stage. 4MV, maybe the ones to take them out of it. Top spot now up for grabs.
Yeah, really good cleanup, but good steals coming through from Team Liquid. 2 elims found from that one, and realistically, it's 4MV doing the majority of the heavy lifting inside of this fight versus RCB. But yeah, that's our first place spot down early on in the match. But they've got a big buffer, so it's kind of okay for them going forward. The Xavier might be able to catch them up though. They're down towards that south side, and it's 77 to find a shot over towards Team Liquid.
Looking for the shots down to the southwest side, 77. Put the screws to Mythic. Run active 2, the rundown with the buggy, able to confirm that one. Ooh, Vampire losing players on the north side as well. 4MV on this southeast point of Yaz Fields. They are going to make it so tough for the team down to the north and to their west to move around past them. There's difficult terrain in general in Yaz Fields, and there always will be. Compound for 77, maybe all the better. Vampire still looking to make their crash work. It's just Luzi to remain though, and Marin Sejong, they'll get 4 elims this game. Won't be low on that count this time around.
Still, losing final earlier does hurt, but getting rid of Vampire in that fight is really nice because they carve themselves out a little bit of the lobby over towards that northeast side. Team Liquid still pumping those points out though. Find a shot over towards Sanchez. They should be able to clean up on this one.
Nico, Stalwart, trying to make their way through, and 4MV, they're up to the hill ridge that sits to the north of Team Liquid right now, but very little that they can do. Nice hop out from the bar on BTR. Spots Hoxie on the roll-up. Not getting past. The barrier's down, and BTR wants to man the barrier.
A lot of aggressive pushes coming through at the moment. For a lot of our squads, Marin Sejong tried to take this compound off of BTR, but only sending one player in. Somewhat understand it in terms of scouting positions. Like if we can pick this up, there's no one there, perfect for us. But BTR take themselves a bit of a split here, so taking more ground than potentially Marin Sejong thought was available. And we do shift over towards that eastern portion as well. So 77, good spot for them, and this might be a great game to get some more of those points on board and shift themselves a little bit further up inside the lobby.
Over the crash. Voin Donkey already with an outpost on the northwest side of it. Nenebete looking for the player out the back, but not going to spot anything. Inko trying to regroup, so avoid Donkey ID'd. Again, another aggressive push from both of these teams, trying to get into the central area. In comes the hovercraft, but Juancho on the off angle there, but not going to dive straight into it. They know Voin Donkey have control on that side, but the spray down to the off angles, the nades are there. Zeta not quite finding what he's looking for either. Couldn't stop Nenebete from getting up to the wall. The rest of Inko putting pressure on from the opposite side, but up the stairs they go, and Voin Donkey lose one. The second is answered, but the flashes start to come on through.
Yeah, very quick reaction there from Voin Donkey, but in comes the rest of Inko. Juancho's down immediately off the back of that one, and somehow, some way, Voin Donkey's holding on to this.
Ooh, that's a nasty nade from Nenebete. Potato now, the last stand for them. Low HP, cooking the nade. One player upstairs is going to try and drop it, force Nenebete into the fight, but he steps into the fire. Disastrous for Inko. That'll burn him away. I wonder, wait, who dropped that Molotov? It was him. He dropped his own Molotov.
Yeah, he threw it down the stairs to stop Potato from pushing up on him, and then running into that is a real question mark of a play. 4MV though, still going strong on this western side. They pick up a shot over towards Magnum. It's going to be great news for 4MV being able to push in through on the west and cross that roadside. But yeah, a lot of teams going for a huge amount of pushes, a huge amount of crashes, because they know there's not a lot of compounds available in the lobby. But Stalwart with a nice nade over towards DXavier, finding 2 pickoffs.
DXavier still just continuing to try and profit, but that's made all the harder with that drag down from Store on the back lines. They've already got 2 elims though. On the south side, they may just be able to find a little bit of peace, but I don't think Stalwart are going to let that happen. Paragin, Levi's both have vehicles available. They've got their little divot, they've got their little dip. Does Stalwart want to try and run this one down? Might be a risk. You've got D plus Kia out to the west side who could third party it if you get stagnated on the approach. So dangerous, and maybe if you're Stalwart, you're getting compounds out to the east side, scouting them out, getting that info. Stalwart now, shots out to the west over to D plus Kia.
I like 4MV's lineup here. I mean, it's likely going to get pretty rough going forward, but they've already been able to punch a hole into 77 earlier on. But Shifu steps up towards that roadside. There's a good amount of damage. Actually takes down Doc in the process, and that's a terrible timing for one of the players to go down here, John.
Can he get the res? Apex is there. Getting Doc back up. Don't worry, it's resable. Doc on the off angle. Low boom. In the meantime, trying to hold the ground floor here. Mirin Sejong. Not a lot of health to deal with. Zadira able to find Jae-Suk, the last player from Mirin Sejong. So third place now also up for grabs, but T plus Kia 77. They're going to have to push a little bit further. 6 elims for 77. And on the west side, they should be fairly solid here in the super strong Heaven compound.
Yeah, honestly, quite a few elims found. The only team that's really causing problems so far has been 4MV, and they're all the way over towards the west. So their hold has been pretty damn good. All things considered, D+, looking to take shots over towards 4MV. This is a bold move, and a crash onto the vehicle to pop them out of it. That is some quick thinking coming through from Nolbu.
D plus Kia handling the flex out from 4MV. That's going to leave them on 3. Now the question is, do they want to double down and try and get through the rest of D plus Kia as 3? I don't think you do, but where do you go from there? You may push into 77. There is only one team currently in that Heaven compound, and we know that there are those 2-layer positions. You can force 77 to take that high ground against you. It's a little bit of a stagnant standoff, but Shifu doesn't want to let them have access even to it in the first place. They're gearing up for it, though, and I think he's going to have to regroup. I think they have to allow 4MV in, given that there are only 3 players.
The second time Shifu's made this move, by the way, John, as well, moving out towards the roadside, just making it very difficult for 4MV to make any moves, and with the circle starting to close in, yeah, it's going from bad to worse here for 4MV. It's a real good cutout by Shifu, playing as a solo there. A dangerous play from him, but realistically, it only needs to just keep showing up, taking some pot shots, then leaving, and that makes it so comfortable for 4MV to move. He's basically done everything that he needs to do to clear out this western side.
Nolbu with the oversight onto this approach. 4MV with Apex down on the forefront, going to continue to get cleared through. D plus Kia. Their win earlier today on Sandhawk. A good start for them. A lot of those points coming from that win as well. D plus Kia want to put another one up on the boards. In 5th place right now, and they want to keep that one going. Shifu's flex out, I mean, this guy just has aura on this western flank, right? It's insane what he's been able to do.
Pretty much. I think that's the way I describe it as well. He's just expanding his zone of influence, right, you know? 4MV consensus Reiatsu from the western side. D+, though, to make their way in on the southwest. But 77 just have oversight on a lot of this. And when Shifu returning back into the fold, now he's going to take pot shots down towards the other team that might be trying to assault their position. Yeah, although 77 on 3 players, they are technically on for a good game here.
And it's mostly because of Shifu, right? That distance travelled, as Jason was pointing out in the chat, or was it Maxman? Maxman, I'm not sure, but it's going to be insane, right? He's been wrapping around, he's been moving so much for them. And it's an interesting, novel way to 3-man that Heaven compound position, right? And they're reading this circle very, very well on 77. A macro sense, the rival the best.
Yeah, the whole point there is just to delay teams to the point where they could never crash into Heaven in the first place. And it's worked out really well because now he has both D+ and 4MV right on the edge of the blue. Stalwart looking over towards PTR, already finding Lapart as the start, one of the star players from the squad on PTR. Luckily, there is at least one knock. We're into a 2v2 now. That was very important. He got that knock from Zuxi.
The step up for Zuxi, but he needs to do a little bit more heavy lifting here. Stalwart, 2 players bearing down upon him. There's the regroup. Loops are also on the northeast side for a third party, and it's up to Satar, but he's the last player to stand. Can these reses come on through? No, Loops are here to play. Nino, Neil, both far forwards. Fearless going to commit to the res and get 3 players back up in an action, but Neil's going over the top. Nino's there to back him up, but the first goes down, the second as well. Is that an off angle? No, I think that's just Loops. Falling to the shotguns from Stalwart. A brilliant hold by Stalwart, and they're going to get a lot of points from this.
a double knot from Pubg. Like, I think that the fact he's able to pick that up in that moment is so important. And Stalwart hold a really difficult location there versus a lot of the crashes coming their way. Luke don't go for a full crash on it, which might have been the better idea, but at least this way Rafinha lives to tell the tale. You can see him taking some pot shots over towards Zeus right now. So, of course, the Western Edge, who are currently embroiled in an engagement between them and the Vicious. But that is now Zeus out.
Up to Gui. Gonna get that final shutdown as well. And what a hold from this man. 4 elims now. And a big shot at this game. Donkey ID Major Pride from the compound to the south side of it, and actually DXavier moving their last player up to this ridgeline. D plus Kia going to try and crash on this angle as well, and Paragin looks to hold Zadira with the spoiler nade. And D plus Kia can get this res, but Limbo Boom being down, this is going to slow things out, going to make it a little bit troublesome. 4MV push up finally into the compound with 77. This hold can no longer be sustainable. Shifu's aura now dialed down a bit.
Yeah, definitely diminished. It was a matter of time. I mean, honestly, for 77, they did a great job. It all started to crumble a little bit because D Plus got a nice knock over towards 77, and they had to double back. They could no longer take shots out as frequently. They do get a full reset on the squad, though. Everyone's fairly healthy here. But yeah, 4MV have moved up alongside D Plus. 6 teams remaining at stage 6. It has been an incredibly aggressive game once again here in survival stage. Everyone's gunning for those elimination points.
Chips going to try and get away from his teammate there as Osal goes up in smoke. Off-angle Fabian there on the back lines trying to stop the flex out for 4MV. You have managed to keep 3 of their players alive. Just Fabian though stands. Not really much you can do to stop this one going through. 77 suppress his position. In the meantime, does actually answer onto Doc. How did he get that peek on through? 77 not going to be able to take the shots out that way. And now Fabian has to push forwards. Apex is down in the meantime, and 77 still hold. This is a brilliant position for them. 77 with 11 eliminations, and on the north side, the wraparound Stalwart here, as Rufus tries to joust with Fabian. Will run him through, but now Stalwart are in the wings.
Yeah, he's a ridiculously good hold here from 77. I don't know how they've stayed alive for so long, but just little bits of chip damage coming through for them. Now they have to fight up against Stalwart, who are moving through. Major Pride have wrapped around. They control multiple areas of the map down towards the southeast. But again, Limbo back up against the wall, but not done yet with the fight.
And with Stalwart in, they are fresh from the other fight on the northeast side. The wraparound from that north flank. The heads up rotating, the Heaven compound dominant on this one. Critter looking to move 77 off of it as well. They've held it for so long, but they still yet to get through the Aura Master himself. Shifu stands.
77 Zadira, Limbo Boom. Still up and kicking. 6 elims for Zadira, and again, that is what I wanted to see. It's been a long time coming at this voice episode for the squad because he is fantastic.